should be going live momentarily. And would you look at that? We're only about 4.5 minutes late. That's not too bad. Anyways, welcome everyone. This is On Just Restart. Today, I am joined by Dylan from Lunatoons. He's a streamer on Twitch, loves Nintendo. Finally getting him on. It's been a few weeks coming, but now it's finally happening. Welcome on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you can check me out on Twitch at Lunatoons. We stream some PS5, Switch, PC. I'm sure it'll be down in the description or whatnot. But yeah, if you want to stop by, say what's up, we'd be happy to have you. And thanks for having me on, Andre.
Absolutely, dude, for sure. You know, when I first saw your Twitch and I got to see you and I got to see like your energy and just like your passion for games, including Nintendo, I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna be great. So for sure, I was excited to get you on. But absolutely. But I also should, I guess, reintroduce Brandon from not What About Nintendo. It's just Brandon from WhataboutNodnarb, which is the.
I mean, there's the What About still there.
The What About WhataboutNodnarb, because it's the opposite of Brandon.
It's my name backwards. And
rolls off the tongue.
Calling me, yeah, not really, but thanks. But people have been calling me that for years. But people on my channel just started calling that to me when I would do live streams. So since I'm not doing dedicated Nintendo content, I thought I should change the name.
Makes sense. Like, but it's still all a work in progress.
Yeah. Lots planned, just not a lot of time or resources to do at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm streaming weekly, guys.
Yeah.
Every week.
Like what?
Usually just on my days off. It's been Wednesdays lately, but it's been so... I haven't really had time to have a defined schedule, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, but I let people know in advance on my Discord. Follow my Discord.
And we've been streaming a lot of Among Us
lately. I still need to change the name on.
Murdering people, always being imposter.
Yeah!
Dude, I have not been able to hop on that Among Us train. I'm so bad at remembering the different room names and like the orientation of the map. Anytime I'm imposter, they have a team. I murder someone, we have a team meeting. They say, all right, Dylan, where were you at? I say,
the room with the box?
Yeah, left side of the map. Like, oh no, he's it. Vote him out. He's gone. He's gone.
Whenever I rarely get the chance to be imposter, because for me it's like 5%. Like I don't have like
he hardly
unfair
ever
odds.
gets it.
I'm just like you though. Like, oh, where were you? Well, it had like a metal thing, and there is a rocket, and then I saw a lot of blood. Get him out of here. No, I saw the imposter. It was black. No, it's you. We know it.
My problem is just forgetting who I saw. I'd be like, I walked in and somebody had just walked right out just before. And it's a dead body and it has to be them, but I don't remember who it was. Who was there? Of course,
I think it was orange. It might have been red.
It's somebody with a color and a name, I swear.
And then they all start suspecting you because you're like giving these fake call outs.
Yeah.
And then once again, you're screwed.
Yep.
Yeah. I hate making assumptions though, and then like, oh, this guy's just been kind of weird. He's been following me around. He's got to be the imposter, and then you're like committed to it, and people believe you, and then you're wrong, and then be like, oh no, this guy's just pulling our legs. Like, no, I legitimately thought I'm sorry.
This guy's just garbage at the game.
The day I retired from Among Us, I swear to God, I saw Blue murder. I called a meeting and I just I take over the whole microphone. I take over the whole chat room. I'm yelling like blue, blue, blue. We all voted him out and it wasn't him. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so terrible.
You should have said, I actually meant the other blue, light blue.
Cyan, yeah.
If you call it light blue, you're not a real gamer. Excuse me, it's cyan and lime.
Get your call outs right, man.
Light blues and their light greens. Pathetic.
Yeah, but just checking with the chat here. Guys, let us know how everything is looking and running. For those who are curious what the actual topics are today, because it actually has been a bit of a slow news week for Nintendo. This time we're going to be focusing, kind of just talking about what we'd like to see for the different potential Nintendo anniversary celebrations. The only one that we really know for sure is happening right now is Pokemon, because they already started sort of marketing it with the 25th anniversary things. But we're really talking about our hopes and wishes for Pokemon's anniversary, for Donkey Kong's anniversary, for Metroid's anniversary, and The Legend of Zelda, which supposedly, I mean, not supposedly, it is around the corner. February 21st will mark the 35th anniversary for the original Legend of Zelda release on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So I think all of us here are pretty big Zelda fans, so that is going to be like probably the big topic, but you know, we'll be talking about the other things as well, and if you guys have any other ideas, feel free to shoot them in the comments. Well, actually, in fact, I believe DE Fox was suggesting that we talk a little bit about Sonic. Sonic's not owned by Nintendo, Sonic's owned by Sega, but you know, Sonic deserves some love too. Like, I'll say that I'm actually a pretty big Sonic fan, and I would love for there to be a new Sonic game. I feel like there's got to be one around the corner, like especially when you consider that it's not just that there's usually like a big mainstream Sonic game that's available across multiple different platforms. If you look at the different Nintendo generations, especially over the last decade or so, there's at least like one ground-up exclusive Sonic game made for Switch. I mean, not for Switch, but for the different, like for example, even got on the Wii U with Sonic Lost. What was it? The one that reviewed poorly. Was it Lost
World?
Lost World, right? There was Lost World, but then on the Wii we had Sonic Colors, and then there was also the
Generations, right?
There was Sonic and the Secret Rings, and there was that medieval version as well. Point is, there's actually been a few different like ground-up exclusive Sonic games for Nintendo systems. And the Switch has been so successful, you would think that Sega would think, maybe we should get like a big brand new Sonic game on a Nintendo Switch, you know? Like that kind of makes sense. I'm not saying it's for sure going to be announced this year, but wouldn't surprise if we see it at some point.
I think it'd be pretty likely actually that a new Sonic game is announced this year. Last year, Sega stated that 2020 was going to be like Sonic's year, and of course the pandemic happens, and you know that kind of screws up everything. So you got to think it at least got pushed back 1 year. Maybe 2021 is going to when it's going to come back. But any game on the Switch is a good idea. With the sales that the Switch has had, any game aside from EA is the only company who doesn't seem to think so. Every other company knows, put any game on a Switch and it's going to sell hotcakes, you know.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, if they don't even have to make a masterpiece Sonic game. They just have to make a kind of good Sonic game, and it's gonna do really well.
Like, I picked up Sonic, what was it, Forces and Mania for the Switch, and they both played well. And Mania was incredible. Forces was kind of cringe, but you know, it had its moments.
Yeah. I also got Mania though. Mania was pretty amazing, but it was a fan game, right? And it was just basically like they're like, yeah, this is great. Let's push this. It would be really nice to see like a very well crafted, like ground up game from Sega for Switch. Like we've seen them do that for Nintendo in the past, and we're seeing some of those like ground up Switch games made by third parties come out this year. For example, Monster Hunter Rise and Shin Megami Tensei 5. Some pretty big games. We've seen a lot for Monster Hunter Rise. It's coming out in March. It looks pretty impressive. Now, obviously, that's a Capcom thing. They're using the re-engine. But I'm just saying, like, we might be getting to that point where some of these third-party developers may be ready to start putting out some big projects. And I'm just saying, I'm optimistic that maybe there's a Sonic game along those lines not too far off.
But what is Sonic's future right now? Because in the past, they've always gone between 3D and 2D Sonic. And in my experience from what I've seen on the internet and back and stuff like that, the 3D Sonics have not been doing all that great recently. I know people kind of want the whole Sonic Adventure style, which would be awesome. I'm hoping they just stick to that 2D 8-bit formula. I think that's like what Sonic is at its peak, kind of taking it back to its roots, and it plays so well.
Yeah, for sure. That
everyone loves the open world concept, but I don't know.
It doesn't
with Sonic.
Doesn't always work as well. So I will give you that. I mean, we'll see. We will see. But just kind of me checking the chat here. Brandon, unless there's anything else you want to add in relation to Sonic specifically.
I'll say, I'm not a huge Sonic fan. I've dabbled with a couple of the games, but I've never even beaten like a Sonic game all the way through. So I guess my opinion might not be as quote-unquote valid as some other people's. But
Invalid.
I would like to see it. Yes. I would like to see a Sonic that is a true 3D platforming Sonic that's as ambitious as like a 3D Mario game, and not just like this. It's in 3D, but it's still like on rails kind of gameplay that they've been going for. Because I've seen some like fan concepts and stuff, and obviously those aren't full-fledged games. Some of them are just crazy, but I've seen that work. I know that they can make like a 3D game that's like more open, not necessarily like fully open world, but more open, that plays well. Because I've seen people make
the game exists. It's called Sonic Colors. That was great. Give us another one. I would even settle for it would, but it's 3D Sonic. You got 3D Sonic adventuring and racing around, and it's pretty good. Like that's fine.
I picked up Sonic Colors and played it for the first time in 2020, and I was having a great time, except for that dang slide mechanic. I'll be going 500 miles an hour down my rail. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling awesome, and I just splat into a wall, and all my momentum is killed, as is all my fun.
That is like kind of like a tricky thing with 3D Sonic games, though, right? Like it's well, one, I mean, in Sonic games in general, when you crash and lose your momentum, that is like that is a real loss. Death is one thing, but the best part about Sonic games is like hitting that speed and kind of like flowing through the stage. And when you hit something, it really hurts because you lose that speed, you lose that momentum, and then you kind of have to build it back up again. But with the 3D Sonic games, there's, especially like, for example, when you try and attack enemies, it's like that constant like auto lock on. It can kind of get a little repetitive, and obviously with camera controls, you can't always be able to look around in 360 degrees with a Sonic game, at least the way they have been designed in the past, and that's created some issues as well. So 2D Sonic is obviously easier to accomplish, but I'm just saying, most people were okay with Sonic Colors for the most part. The formula exists for a good 3D Sonic game, so you could do that, but I also I'm somewhat inclined to agree with you, Dylan, that more 2D Sonic is never a bad thing. But let me just check in with the chat here, and then we'll actually jump into the topics. Jeremy Benz, hello. How you doing? Nintendo Direct Mini this week or next? So, supposedly, right?
Neither.
The Nintendo Direct archive was updated on the back end of things. Usually this precedes, or like literally every time that's happened, we do get some sort of presentation within a few days or a few weeks. I obviously at this point I would say we're more in the few weeks window. I'm expecting probably a partner showcase though, because if you look at January so far, we've already gotten announcements for new Pokemon Snap and 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I think if there was like a Nintendo Direct of any sort slated for January, they probably would have saved those announcements. They didn't. That said, if you saw my video from yesterday, I'm still thinking there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in February. I mean, that's my hope. Obviously, we don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm not like expecting an announcement like this week necessarily for something major. But a partner showcase can really happen at any point.
Yeah, I'm still thinking we might have to wait till March or April. I don't know.
I mean, that could be the case. Yeah. We may have to wait until summertime. It's not impossible. Nintendo can get away with just doing trailer drops. I prefer they don't, but they could definitely do it.
I'm starting to lose slight faith in like a true general Nintendo Direct coming back. I mean, you see them announce, with Mario and Bowser's Fury. They just dropped one trailer for that, and Arlo, another YouTuber, mentioned this on Twitter as well. Is that for that entire week, really, all anyone was talking about was Mario and Bowser's Fury. Whereas if that had been a expansive general Direct with, 10 to 15 games announced, then, you know, talk of the town would be kind of all over the place. But because Nintendo is kind of focusing and honing in their marketing, it seems to boost whatever game that they want to boost at that time, you know. So I think partner showcases will definitely continue with like third party announcements. That has to happen. But I'm starting to lose, I'm not saying they're gone forever, but I'm starting to lose a little bit of faith that general directs are going to be coming back at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a fair concern. I
It's,
don't necessarily share it, but I see why.
And I'm not really concerned about it. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. You know, I get just as hyped for a Bowser's Fury trailer drop, you know, as I would seeing it in a direct. It's just a little bit spaced out. It's presented a little bit differently. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I know sometimes change is scary, but I don't think it would be a horrible direction to take.
I'll give you that, you know, it's still definitely they're still getting their message across. That is the case. Now I don't know how it impacts everything, right? Because I mean, Mario is Mario. Mario is always going to do well.
For sure.
Nintendo hasn't actually made any announcements for big not too many. I mean, there was Paper Mario. They had the trailer drop for that, and I'm having a hard time thinking of anything else that was like internally Nintendo, because even Age of Calamity was like a partner thing with Koei Tecmo, right? Like, I'm trying
Mario Direct.
In the Mario Direct
anniversary.
I mean, that was. I mean, I like those. Like, we can still get those kind of things, right? And I'm okay with that. Like, so for example, we get like a Zelda 35th anniversary direct. Like, to me, that's probably a similar impact to a general Nintendo direct for me.
To clarify, I think like single game focused Nintendo directs, like a Zelda anniversary direct, still is definitely going to happen. I have full faith in that. But when you get like 15 different games from different companies all compiled into one thing, plus some Nintendo first party stuff, that's what I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's coming back.
It's tricky. But I think we all agree that Nintendo's not done with the direct, because they've been doing all sorts of directs throughout, even 2020, which is a pandemic year where they were limited in their delivery of information and they had to reassess things and delay things. We still got, like, as you brought up, the Mario 35th anniversary direct. We got the Super Nintendo World direct. There was a Monster Hunter direct, and there was several partner showcases. So Nintendo's not done with the direct, but really the question is, will we get that general Nintendo direct, right? Where we get all of those things together. And I guess my thinking is that we can't really look at 2020 as an example, because the pandemic throws everything off. Like, it's not really a good tell for where Nintendo's at now, because it's an exception year. But that said, we're still going through a lot of the effects of that pandemic, so it's still kind of hard to gauge, you know, where we're at right now, if Nintendo's returning to a norm, if we're going to see the general Nintendo directs, or if they're even just kind of moving on regardless of the fact of the challenges of the pandemic, right? Like, there's all those different things we're taking into consideration there. So it's hard to say, but I'll argue that if Nintendo's still willing to do the partner showcase, where they have multiple games bunched up together and it works, I think that also means that they're willing to have other types of directs that have multiple games lined up together. I mean, even if we talk about the Mario Anniversary direct, right? They talked about several things, several different Mario games and entities and things of that nature. They're still willing to do that. So, and there's different stuff, right? Like, they don't, even though it's all Mario, it doesn't all necessarily appeal all to the same type of fan. Like, for example, Mario Kart Live Circuit did not appeal to me. But, you know, that doesn't mean, I still cared about Bowser. Well, yeah, they showed us Bowser's Fury, but it was just like a tease. I still cared about that. I still cared about 3D All-Stars. Those were exciting things to me. My point simply is that if they're still having that type of presentation where multiple things are announced, I think they may still be willing to do that, but obviously we haven't seen them do the direct that we came to know and love over the years recently. But my argument is that's more to do with the pandemic, but until Nintendo actually does it, we don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because Nintendo could have looked at 2020 and the situation that was going on and just used that as a testing ground. Like, all right, we don't have the games, we don't have the lineup right now to do a general direct, so let's try something new. Let's try some of these just single game focus. Let's try these partner presentations. And while the first two partner presentations were doo-doo,
Yeah.
You know, they ended on a high note with the Monster Hunter Rise one, and
Yeah.
I think overall the optics on it are more positive. So maybe Nintendo looked at that and said, "Hey, this actually worked out pretty good. Maybe we'll do a couple more of these." But we can only guess. And
Yeah.
Nintendo Direct speculation always just goes so far off the rails, you know. So
Yeah.
it comes with the territory.
I'll tell you this: that if we don't get the Nintendo Direct again, it'll be disappointing to me. Because while it's still exciting to get those trailers, I do love those moments of anticipation where you don't know what's going to come. When you get those Bowser Fury trailers, they're amazing, but you see it and like, oh, okay, that's what it is. So some of the surprise is already taken away from that moment alone.
Yeah.
But that anticipation for whatever is like, oh, what is this? What's this thing? Like, for example, the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was as it was starting. We see these green wisps, and we're like, "What is this? Is this Metroid? Is this Bayonetta? Is this something we don't know about? Is it Mother 3? Like, you never really know, right?"
Those E3-esque announcements.
Yeah. So I still hope we get those type of situations where we can have like that anticipation. I think that's one of the things that's kind of lost by not having the General Nintendo Direct. Now, does that translate into worse sales or worse attention or worse marketing by not having that? I mean, I can't speak for that, right? Because the thing is, like, you look at, like, to your point, you look at the Bowser's Fury trailer, it did amazingly well. It was, like, #1 on trending for a little bit. And that's not the first time Nintendo's had a trailer drop that did that. Age of Calamity did that, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure here Mario was revealed. That did pretty well as well. So
Yeah,
they still do well.
Exactly. Even Paper Mario, which is a, somewhat smaller tier Nintendo title, that was...
Yeah,
it blew up on the internet just because of one
of attention. To your point,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm still inclined to think we're getting Nintendo Directs, hence why I theorize that we'll get them. But at the same time, like, we may have to wait a while. So we'll see what happens. But let me sort of just kind of continue on with the chat here. Unless there's anything else you guys want to add to that little side topic.
No.
Nintendo Direct's coming out tomorrow, right? I'm just kidding.
Only.
Hello there, Drone President, Kane the Queen, Nintendo Josh,
Ooh, kind of queen.
Javi Sario, hello, Bernard Esparza. Did I get your last name right? Esparza. Bernardo Esparza. Let's go. Yeah. Shark Games, when do you think the Zelda Direct, if there is one, is going to drop? So I'll say this. I think a lot of people are starting to think we may have to wait until after Nintendo's fiscal year ends, which would put us past March, which would be disappointing to me, because Zelda's anniversary is in February, but Nintendo doesn't have, even though they've been showing that they like to use the anniversaries to help sort of market and push different things they have planned for the year, because of social media, like talking about anniversaries, it definitely works towards marketing and such, so that there is like a logical business reason to celebrate anniversaries. That doesn't mean they have to do it on the actual date. So, yeah, even though February 21st is the actual anniversary for Zelda, they don't have to do it then. But, I'll say this. They have gotten out a lot of announcements for 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and just Mario 35 in general. Like, they even revealed the red and blue Mario Switch. To me, it felt like when they gave us that trailer, last week, and like there were like 2 days where they gave us a whole bunch of like Mario 35th anniversary announcements. To me, that felt like the end of the announcements. Like, there's no more announcements after this. At this point, we're just gonna be pushing and marketing. I feel like the argument can be made that that was Nintendo getting all of the announcements out of the way, so they can start. Yeah, they'll advertise it now, but they'll be done announcing things for Mario's 35th anniversary. And once 3D World comes out February 12th. There's like a week and a half period between then and Zelda's 35th anniversary. They may then start to transition to start pushing something else instead. Hopefully Zelda, right? And what I'm getting at here is that maybe Nintendo's getting out all of those Mario anniversary announcements so they can transition, and they don't necessarily have to wait until the end of their fiscal year, or until, like, for example, 3D All-Stars is taken off of the eShop. Just because it's coming off of the eShop then doesn't mean they can't start marketing something else. They can overlap, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that, and that's a pretty good window that just so happens to line up. You could say it's a coincidence, or you could say it's probably planned by Nintendo. That
it might be. Like, if they they have an anniversary direct on, let's say, what February is right? So February 12th is a Friday, right? The 21st is a Sunday, but if they like announce a direct on the 22nd or 23rd for later in that week, that's, you know, about a week and a half to 2 weeks removed from the release of Bowser's Fury in 3D World, and that would be enough time to kind of push that and then give us something else to be excited about.
Yeah, and you talk about the importance of like the fiscal year and making sure investors are happy and stuff. But if Nintendo has the year that we expect them to have throughout the entirety of the calendar, I don't really see them having a reason to hold back anything at any given time. They've got Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon. They've got Breath of the Wild 2 that we think is coming out in the holiday. I think that's a general consensus.
Some people think it might come out in 2022, but I'll say that I feel like let's hypothetically speaking, let's say it comes out, it doesn't make it out for 2021. I believe there will be people saying, you know what, I think it's coming out in 2023. Like, I just think there's always people that's always going to assume that it's a year from whatever year they're in, and I'll say that at least they're less disappointed. You know,
there you go.
So, you know, but I agree with you. I think it's probably a holiday thing.
Yeah, but so pretty much I'm getting at, they don't have to pull punches. They can just go if they want to get like a good flow. I can't like always have the momentum throughout the entire year. They start with like that Zelda anniversary announcement, and they got Monster Hunter like right on top of it, and then they go into like some Metroid stuff, new Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Anniversary, Donkey Kong Anniversary if that happens. I mean, on top of all the third-party stuff that's going to be inevitably coming to the Switch too, I don't think they have a reason. Inevitably they could have a year where there is no breaks. It's just like full throttle in an ideal 2021.
I think what's sort of interesting to consider is if you look at the amount of published Nintendo games we see year by year. Obviously last year is an exception, but excuse me, in general, they release like somewhere between like, and they're in the 20s. They're in that 20 range. Like they release somewhere between 20 and 30 games per year, which may seem kind of crazy to some people. And that number has gone down a little bit because now they're just focusing on one platform. But they're still releasing a lot of games, more games than there are months in the year. Some of those games are eShop games. Some of those games are like kind of like dual releases. Like for example, Sword and Shield. It's one game, but it has two different versions with minor different variations in content. But still, overall, there's more game releases than there are actual months in the year. So my point is that in the years where they're kind of packed, there's going to be more than one Nintendo published product coming out per month, at least on average. Like if we go back to 2019, for example, when we got the release for the Switch Lite, we saw the release for both Link's Awakening Remake and Dragon Quest XI's, which was published by Nintendo. Nintendo helped to fund that special port of the game. So, you know, they had a lot of money invested in that, and there was multiple things coming out around that time. So if, to your point, Dylan, if this year is going to be a really big year, which I agree it probably is, we're going to see some pretty jam-packed months, and that also means we're going to need to be getting announcements for those jam-packed months, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why, actually, is basically why I think we might get a Direct in February of some sort. It might just be Zelda Direct, it might be a mini, I don't know, but like basically something that we're going to think is going to be really, really cool, because they do need to kind of keep those announcements coming. If anything, if like we look at the announcements we've gotten so far for this year, if it's anything to go by, it looks like Nintendo is starting to widen that gap again between announcement and release, because last year it was a very, very small gap, you know. But look, you look at we now know about the release date for Pokemon Snap. It's coming out April 30th. We actually have a few months of a window here. So it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, they continue that. Like maybe we learn about something for May in February, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that kind of makes sense to me. So, you know, I'm optimistic that the news is going to keep coming, and we're going to have a lot of good stuff to play throughout the year.
How did you guys like that short announced to release time?
I hated it. Like I loved it. Well, it's a love-hate.
For which game?
Well, for just all games in 2020, they would like announce the game and then it would come out like 2 weeks later, a month later.
Yes, 3D All-Stars I hated. Age of Calamity I was okay with. Like, because 3D All-Stars, we were like, oh, this is like, they waited as long as they possibly could for us to think they pushed our belief to the limit.
Yeah, for real.
Dude, there were dark times in 2020. Like, I remember being at work, just like unable to do my work because I'm like, where is Nintendo? When are they going to talk to us?
Yeah.
Like, any information. But I personally enjoyed it when they announced something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can play this game in 2 weeks. Like, I don't have that horrible wait. Like with Monster Hunter Rise, when they announced the game, I was like, oh, we've only got a couple of months until it comes out. Cool. And I wasn't really sweating it. And then they released the demo, and I loved it so much. Now I'm sweating every day. I'm like, March 26th needs to hurry up. And it's killing me on a day-to-day basis. I wish it was just now.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed those short windows.
I'm not saying I disagree with that. Like, I do, but I think there's a happy middle ground. I think 2 weeks is a little much.
That was a little much. That was very close.
3 months, that's healthy. Like, 3 months is like, oh, okay, that's just 3 months away. And if when they drop a demo, like that's good. Like, so like new Pokemon Snap, Monster Hunter Rise, I am happy with those. That's great. If they, let's say, if we're lucky, we get like a Zelda Collection or a Skyward Sword HD announced next month and it comes out May or June, that's not that long of a window. I won't feel like, oh man, I gotta wait 2 years for this, you know? So I'm okay with that.
We got Breath of the Wild sequel over here, just like hanging out. Like, if it comes out this holiday, that would be what, 2.5 years after the original announcement?
Which I would say is a long time. Okay,
I mean, for Nintendo, I mean, there's a lot of games that have way longer, but still.
Yeah.
Hey, it's got nothing on Bayonetta 3.
Yeah. We got the Bayonetta 3.
But don't worry, we're getting an update this year, guys.
Tomorrow in the Direct. That's coming tomorrow. Bayonetta 3.
Yeah. And then it's gonna come. It's gonna be shadow dropped on this Friday.
Yep.
Can't wait.
What if that was actually true? Like, wouldn't that be crazy?
We'd be the Messiah. We'd be prophets, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree that there will be. I mean, he said there'll be an update, or he hopes that there'll be an update. I think we could at least expect an update on that.
Hopes that there's an update. Like, my God.
There has to be.
Yeah.
4 years after the announcement, you hope.
4 years of development being fine for the record.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it didn't take them 4 years to even like make any of the other games.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they're putting these 4 years to good use, man. I hope they're pushing Bayonetta to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, that is what they want. We know that they're trying to make Bayonetta 3 the biggest, most ambitious of the series, which I mean is not a crazy expectation in general. When you have a game, when you have like the third entry for any particular series, you're always going to try and do bigger and better, right? But with that comes longer development times, a bigger budget. Like, there's higher stakes. They want to get it right. Absolutely, and I love talking about this, and you sort of alluded to it earlier, Dylan, but when pretty much games just always sell really well on Switch, you have a huge opportunity to establish a much larger audience on Switch. So I think they want to be careful with Bayonetta 3, because they can turn Bayonetta 3 from kind of like a niche series to something a little bit more mainstream with a huge, big, successful release of this next entry. Like, they can do that. The same applies for Metroid, for the record. I mean, and that's very exciting for us. Like, you just hear me out here, right? It doesn't just mean that, like, us fanboys are excited because our favorite games sell well. Like, that's not the real reason why I'm excited for that. I'm excited for it because if Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 sell well, that means we will see the next entries sooner. They will know that, hey, this is a consistent seller. We can bring it out 3 or 4 years from now. We don't have to wait a decade for another Metroid or Bayonetta game.
Yep. And we'll kind of break up the Mario Zelda.
Yeah, like I love those, but we need more.
Yeah, be great.
Yeah. But let me just kind of run through the chat here real quick, and then we'll jump into the topics, guys. Let's see here. Birdman, what day is Zelda's birthday? February 21st. Halisario91 added me. Do you think Nintendo's going to show the next Molotov game this year? I think that's a decent bet. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but it's definitely one of the things that they could do. Monolith is one of Nintendo's larger developers. They have several studios, and they've been continually expanding. Now, granted, a lot of their studios kind of work on the back end of other Nintendo development studios to sort of help them. For example, they helped the Zelda team to make the massive Breath of the Wild world, but they only had Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition come out last year, which is a remaster, a nice remaster, but at the end of the day, a remaster. It doesn't have like this massive 3 to 5 year development cycle. It took like a year or so, not that long, and they have multiple teams, so they could have something else that's not too far out from release. And
2019 they didn't have anything. 2018 was just the DLC, and then 2017 was
I said 2019, but yeah, I mean last year 2020 we got the Xenoblade thing. You're right. Yeah, it was just Xenoblade 2 at the end of 2017. Like they could definitely have something else ready.
Which they made in 2 years somehow.
Yeah. And they're a much bigger team now than they are before. Yeah, so
they've been working on that medieval project since early 2018.
This is my prediction. We get a announcement of the next Microsoft game either this year or next year, like that.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah. And actually, if we don't get it this year, I think it'll be announced for next year and come out next year. Like I don't feel like that's a crazy expectation.
No, yeah, that's fair.
On here, Drone President Atomy. Do you guys think we can get a Sonic Anniversary Direct? No.
Not a Direct.
No.
They could do their own thing.
Yeah, they could do their own thing. There could be like if we get like a dedicated ground up new Sonic game and it's being pushed the same way Monster Hunter Rise is being pushed, there could be a Sonic Direct for that particular game, but there's not going to be like, hey, here is all of Sega's anniversary plans in a Nintendo Direct. No, there'll be a Sega presentation where they'll talk about all of that and they might show what they have planned for Nintendo. Because Sega does things beyond just Nintendo. They're going to have Sonic involved with other systems as well. But if there's a specific Sonic game planned for the Switch, it's like a big deal, kind of like Monster Hunter Rise, then maybe we could get a Direct like that, because we got one for Monster Hunter Rise. They do that sometimes. So that, but not the whole franchise. No.
Agreed.
Yeah, Super Chris, Atomy. Do you like it if I go Andres in caps every time you are online? You can do whatever you want, Super Chris. I appreciate your existence, and your moderation has been a great benefit to the channel. I appreciate the love, my friend. Ella Schmidt. Do you think there will be a DLC for Age of Calamity? Maybe something for Zelda's 35th anniversary. I think if there's going to be a DLC announcement, it's got to be next month. If it's not next month, it's not happening. Because you can't wait that long between the release of a game and a DLC announcement, I think. In general, obviously there are exceptions, but for the most part, if you don't get an announcement within the first few months of a game being out in the market for DLC, it's not happening. So I think next month is like that last sort of time for it to happen. If we don't get any sort of Zelda announcements next month, that doesn't mean there aren't Zelda anniversary plans, but I just think that would be like the last opportunity to, like, if they haven't announced it yet, it's because they're saving it for Zelda anniversary announcements altogether. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's it. If we get it in February, sure. I mean, I'm not sure, to be honest, but if we go past February, my answer is just a hard no.
I've seen a lot of people ask about Age of Calamity DLC. Like, what do you think that would be comprised of, other than just like new fighters, new characters? Like, would there be a story to it? Just new generic missions?
Yeah. So there was a data mine that showed a few different like voiceover works for a few different characters that were like for playable characters, such as Robbie and Pura, as well as what's the Yiga plant? Is it Yuga? The big guy, the big muscular Yiga guy, him, and also okay. Man, it's been a couple months since I played the game now. I'm forgetting their names. Yeah. The ominous figure. What was his name?
Start with the Astor.
I think it's Astor. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, and actually, Ella Schmidt corrected me. Suga. Thank you for the Yiga guy. Yeah. So there was some data mines with like actual like in-game like voices for them. implying that they at one point were at least considering making them playable, potentially, or it could be like remnants of DLC they're working on. So if there is DLC, maybe we could see those guys be made actually fully playable, and maybe they could have like different like side story missions that sort of answer some questions about them. For example, with Suga, he kind of just like disappeared for a little while, right? We don't know what happened to him, so maybe they could sort of explore that. We also don't know how Purry and Robbie, how Robbie and Pearl actually escaped the castle during the outbreak of the calamity. So they could explore that as well. And then Astor did a whole bunch of things, so there's plenty of room to sort of explore him in terms of what he did throughout the story. So I feel like if they were to do DLC, that's like my first thought of what they would do. They would make those characters playable and have us explore their stories, the parts that we missed for Age of Calamity.
Sounds good to me.
Maybe it'll happen. And then Jacob Hernandez asked, what do you think Nintendo's going to do with Donkey Kong's 40th anniversary and Zelda's anniversary? Well, that's kind of I mean, it's more like wishes, but I'll mix in what I think is happening throughout the discussion as well. So I guess, I mean, to get things started, you want to just jump into our Donkey Kong hopes and wishes here?
Sure.
Do it.
I'm saving Zelda for last because I think it's the thing we care about the most. Yeah, but
we're going off on a tangent.
Yeah, we will get to Zelda though. So let's talk about Donkey Kong first. So Donkey Kong's gonna get their 40th anniversary this year. Donkey Kong came out in 1981. It was an arcade game. It was what Nintendo used to break into North America. They had a whole bunch of arcade cabinets in warehouses, and they were all for, I believe, radar scope, and they didn't know what to do, so they actually reprogrammed those games to be a different game, Donkey Kong, and they designed it in a way that would be exciting for Americans at the time, because at the time, you know, the King Kong, that was a big deal at the time. So, and the whole red girder thing, like they wanted to sort of relate to like construction in New York City and things of that nature. So they designed this game to appeal to Americans, and it worked really well. And that allowed Nintendo to explode in popularity, especially here in the States. And that was kind of like the springboard for Nintendo eventually getting into like home console systems and becoming what we know for them today. So I like saying this a lot, but Donkey Kong is arguably the most important game in Nintendo history, and is also technically where Mario sort of came from. At the time it was just called Jumpman, but eventually they took that character and turned him into Super Mario. So I definitely think Nintendo's going to want to celebrate that to some extent this year.
Yes, but Nintendo really likes to ignore Donkey Kong for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, because you make like literally the greatest points. Donkey Kong is one of the most iconic video game characters, not just for Nintendo, but in the like history of gaming.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows, even if you're not a gamer, you could be a 60-year-old mom who's never touched a video game in her life, but you recognize that monkey throwing that barrel at Jumpman, right? Like,
iconic.
It's an iconic figure, and so it's always been strange to me that Nintendo is just like, we'll just kind of leave them on the side. And as far as like anniversaries are concerned, I generally think that you want to celebrate the history. So I don't know if a new game for Donkey Kong is coming. Yeah, again, I think of anniversaries, I think of old games, you know, like an HD port or something like that, or a collection of older games. But the Donkey Kong Country games are already on the online service. They could add a Smash or a Mario Kart character to celebrate. Just general physical goods. They could talk about the Nintendo theme park. Maybe I think there's specs of a Donkey Kong themed area
Absolutely.
of the Nintendo world.
There absolutely is. There are plans to add an expansion for Donkey Kong Country, but also on top of that, the Nintendo World's mobile app there's been some data mines found of Donkey Kong content within that as well. So signs seem to be pointing towards the next major expansion for Super Nintendo World being Donkey Kong related. So
that could be huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, huge.
But let me make an argument here, right? Because to your point, Nintendo hasn't been too celebratory or loving of the Donkey Kong series, at least as much as maybe they should, right? But maybe they do have something in the works here. because going beyond just the Donkey Kong Park, I feel like if they're going to have that, there's going to be a need for there to be a Donkey Kong game. Like, they need to do something to make Donkey Kong relevant, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like they want to have those sort of pair up together. Now, the Donkey Kong expansion is probably going to take a while. I don't expect that to come out this year. They're still trying to get Super Nintendo World open. But the next expansion, whenever it's ready, would be that. And if they're going to do that, they're going to want something out there that would have sort of, reinvigorated the franchise.
DK64 remake.
Yes, that's what we need.
That I would love that.
I would be down. I would love it.
I would love that. But my hope and wish is actually somewhat of what I think is actually happening at the same time. And I'll specify what my wishes are versus what I think is happening. But there is a few different rumors going around from credible leakers that a Donkey Kong game is coming out this year. So when I say credible, right, you have to take this with a grain of salt regardless, no matter what. Until it's announced, you never really know. But these people are in Reset Era, Zippo, Nate Drake, and these people are the same people that told us about 3D All-Stars and Pikmin 3 Deluxe, for example. And those happened. So, I am inclined to agree that Donkey Kong game is around the corner, especially when you consider that the Mario Odyssey team was actually hiring for 2D development last year. We got reports of that. So the rumor is right now that there is a Donkey Kong game being made by the Odyssey team. And it seems that it's lining up for a 40th sort of anniversary celebration thing here. Now, part of those rumors are suggesting, and it's not set in stone, but are suggesting this isn't a 3D Donkey Kong, but a 2D Donkey Kong, which I think makes more sense in terms of celebrating the history of Donkey Kong. But at the same time, some people might scratch their head and say, why would the main 3D Mario team make a 2D Donkey Kong game? But I'll also bring up that 3D Mario team, before they started making the Galaxy games, they actually were making Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which was 2D Donkey Kong on the GameCube before they moved on. So they have a history with it. But anyway, I think that's what's happening. My wish, though, is that it's more than just a 2D game. Maybe it's something that's like a mix of 2D and 3D. But I would love to see what the Odyssey team can do for Donkey Kong. I really want to see that. I hope it's a big deal. King K. Rool has been sort of made relevant again thanks to Smash Brothers. It would be amazing if they made King K. Rool the main villain again in the next Donkey Kong game. I would absolutely love that. That's my wish. So I'm hoping that we get some updates on the Donkey Kong Park for Super Nintendo World, the expansion, and also we get this new Donkey Kong game supposedly made by the Odyssey team, and it has King K. Rool heavily involved.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not sure I have much to add on that.
Brandon? Maybe some Donkey Kong branded bananas?
Yes. I don't know, because I would like a new Donkey Kong game this year, made by the Odyssey team. I feel like I would much rather them have made a 3D game, but I guess maybe they might be working on this and another 3D Mario game at the same time, or plan to finish this quickly and then move on to 3D Mario. So maybe they didn't want to take a ton of time. Consider there's only been one 3D Donkey Kong game, and it wasn't considered to be that amazing, even though I loved it.
It was made by Rare.
I thought it was great.
I loved it as well.
Bunch of crazy people hating on it. It's all you guys' fault.
Haters, man.
Yeah. But I don't know. If we get a 2D game, that would be amazing. But I'm gonna be honest, not really feeling it. I haven't gotten to that point where I believe it's a thing yet. Just don't yet. I need more evidence. I need proof. I need more facts.
I gave you all I got. Reports of 2D development by the Odyssey team, rumors from people who have told us about other things that have come true in the past, the data mines of the Donkey Kong expansion in the park, and that it's the 40th anniversary, and that it would be cool. That's all I got for you.
Do a Donkey Kong 40. There's a battle royale Donkey Kong side scroller.
What I mean, what if they did have some? Like, if they're willing to do something like that for Mario, like there's a huge connection there. Like they gotta do something with that. I think it makes sense. Yeah. for
It'd
sure.
be cool if they actually used the Odyssey engine for a 2D Donkey Kong game.
That would be
I feel like that would
cool.
actually be pretty cool.
Like
What engine?
the Odyssey.
The
engine.
Mario Odyssey engine, yeah.
I thought you said RE engine. I was like, yo.
No, that'd be weird.
It'd be left field, but I'd be down.
I think a Smash
is
realistic
Smash
Donkey
reveal
Kong.
could be actually pretty big.
Say it again.
Smash reveal, like a Diddy Kong in Smash or something like that, or I think someone in the chat said a Diddy Kong Racing 2, which I don't think will happen, but
People want.
Well, hey, if we can't get a Mario Kart, why not give us a Diddy Kong Racing? That's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably scream
Yeah.
F-Zero first, but hey, you know, I'll settle for Diddy Kong Racing. I'm fine with that. That'd be fun.
We got a new Crash Team race.
Yeah.
New Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah. In terms of in terms of Smash character thing, like we could get Dixie Kong like that.
did I say Diddy? I'm sorry, yeah, I meant to say Dixie.
You meant Dixie, yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Dixie.
Like Dixie had at one point was considered. I think like when they were initially planning Diddy Kong for Brawl, I think they were also considering adding Dixie Kong as well. I don't remember if it was meant to be like kind of like an Ice Climber kind of thing where it was both of them together or separately. But point is, Dixie Kong was at least at one point considered, and if you're gonna add another Donkey Kong character, Dixie Kong's off is like the next one that makes sense. Of course,
Yeah.
you could do like the curveball one and give us like Cranky Kong or Funky
Funky Kong, yeah.
Yeah, actually, Cranky Kong would be
Lanky
really cool.
Kong.
Lanky Kong,
Got my
is-
boy Lanky.
or about
For
Chunky Kong?
no reason.
You could do the whole DK crew, and they just like move in one pack all the time
Yeah,
around the map.
and we can see a game with both
Yeah.
Tiny Kong and Dixie Kong together. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know if they'll do that, but I mean, you know, it's not impossible. But either way, I mean, there's lots of options. Lots
Yeah,
of
I'm just
options.
trying to think of ways that they could hype up Donkey Kong right now.
I'm telling you,
Sorry.
man. Donkey Kong branded bananas. Like, it makes
It'd be
perfect
huge.
sense. And there'll be people
We
like,
need
oh,
more
but
merchandise.
yeah, for sure. I mean, they already have it, but like, you know, the tie, the DK tie, like they should sell more
Yeah.
of those. I think we could at least get like perhaps like DK branded Joy-Cons to like on a serious note. Like I think that would kind of like an easy thing to do, you know. Just
Yeah.
give us some Donkey Kong branded Joy-Cons. I think that would work out pretty well.
They gotta get a little more creative though than they did with the Mario Switch. I'm not a fan of that Mario Switch. It's just red.
All right,
It's just red.
since we're talking about wishes here and not expectations, I'll say that what I would like to see for Donkey Kong branded merchandise, I would like to see a new Nintendo Switch dock, but it looks like a barrel. Like it's like
Ooh,
a
Or a
it's like-
bongo or something.
it's exactly. You put your Switch in there, and there you go. And the Joy-Con, oh man, and the Joy-Con you can kind of like pretend like it's like a All right, full on wish mode. It's a new Switch bundle. It looks like a barrel. It looks like a bongo, and it actually comes with a bit of software. A new Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and you can actually play Donkey Kong Jungle Beat with the dock and these Joy-Cons that are meant to hit on the bongo. Like not literally, but like motion control. It would be kind of like simulating that experience. That's like
I'll call
way
up
out there.
Nintendo after this and pitch that to him.
It's-
Say get up with my man Andre. He's got an idea that you're gonna want to hear. This is going
fun.
places.
It would be fun, man. It would be so weird, but it would be fun. But going back to the actual potential Donkey Kong game, right? What I would like to see is, because I do love the Donkey Kong Country style of gameplay, but I'll also again concede that it's weird to see the Odyssey team just make a 2D game if that's what they're working on. But if you look at the way they handled Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, I mean, it was a 3D environment just on a 2D plane, right? And there was a lot of those dynamic scenes of jumping back and forth. I would like them to kind of continue with that. So maybe it's more of a like a true 2.5D game where that's blended a little bit, where there is some more 3D elements, but you still have the Donkey Kong Country 2D gameplay. And if you think about what they do with the Mario games, they do that a lot. Like the Galaxy games and Odyssey, they have a lot of 2D segments, and they're sort of blended into the gameplay. So what if they reverse that, where there's a lot of 2D segments, but there's 3D gameplay, or vice versa? Like, maybe the reason why the leaks are thinking that it's 2D Donkey Kong is because it's the 2D hires and what they've heard, but maybe that's just a piece to the gameplay, you know? So I would love to see some sort of hybrid there, because there's already a history of the Odyssey team doing that with their games, and even with the Donkey Kong Country games that Retro Studios worked on, they kind of did that to some extent as well. So I would love them to sort of play with that. I don't want it to be like a clear-cut only 2D game or clear-cut only 3D game. Some sort of interesting blend, I think, would be really exciting to see.
Yeah, that would be. I would be actually very invested in that if like the camera can move in a side-scrolling and then the camera pivots and now you're behind Donkey Kong.
Oh, man.
You do a little 3D section and then it pivots back to side-scrolling.
Oh, I think this actually makes a lot of sense because, again, just to think about the history here. The Mario Odyssey team worked on, before they moved on to Galaxy, they worked on Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. In Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, it was 3D, 2D side-scrolling, but when you would fight the apes at the end for the boss fights, you would go behind the shoulder and start beating down. So, like, you know, there's a history there of them doing this. I think this makes sense. Oh, man.
We're on to something.
I think we are. I would love to see something like this. I think there's a lot of like possibilities with this. You feeling this, Brandon?
We're getting so excited. It's not gonna happen.
We gotta will it into an existence. What are you saying?
Dude, I'd be hyped.
Yeah, it would be cool. But is there anything else you guys think we might see for, or not even think, but just would like to see for Donkey Kong's anniversary?
Not that I haven't mentioned already.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on then.
I guess if I could add one more thing.
Yeah.
In the Donkey Kong theme park, what's a ride? What's a good Donkey Kong ride that they could?
Oh,
implement?
minecart.
Oh, yeah, duh. Easy.
Easy, exactly.
VR,
Easy.
Some VR goggles and.
But maybe they could even have some points where you
Collect
jump
bananas.
into a barrel, fly, be shot out. I don't know how you do it, but do it. Or I mean, maybe that could be like the VR thing, or they simulate you flying through the barrels. That might be disorienting, though.
They could actually shoot you through a barrel and into like a foam pit. There you go. That's safe.
The rails just stop and you do a little jump. You hope you land on the next set.
Just fling people into the air.
This is safe.
They can simulate it at least. I think they could maybe do that. Like maybe like you're not always being shot through barrels, but like it's on a minecart, but there are moments where you're shot through a barrel, like a couple times. Maybe that's how the ride starts. Maybe that's how the ride ends, or something. But just checking with the chat here before we move on to the next topic. Gamebird Classic, another awesome content creator. He's been on the podcast before. Make sure to check him out, guys. Added me. We need a DK movie. With the Mario movie in the works and the releases of Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog, the setup for the Smash Bros. Cinematic universe is almost complete.
And with DK and Mario being so closely related, they could have a post-credits scene in the Mario movie where like you just see a silhouette of DK, you know, coming over a mountain or something.
Oh yeah, and that transitions into the Nintendo Park expansion, which then adds Donkey Kong. It makes sense. I don't know, man. We're connecting a lot of dots here. I don't know. It's been like a puzzle.
We're so smart, dude. We're so smart. It's insane.
Maybe.
It's insane.
Maybe.
Puzzle where we define all the shapes and sizes of every piece.
That's right. we make it fit by transforming the pieces. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, we got. I missed a comment here I got a super chat from Taker610. Thank you very much, Taker. Is Nintendo doing too little with Switch ports?
From like the Wii U, or?
Well, I think 3D World is like the ideal enhanced port, actually. They split up the gameplay, they added an online mode, they seems to have added a lot of quality of life changes. Even the Captain Toad segments are multiplayer, which I didn't really think about it, but that's awesome to see. And then Bowser's Fury, they're marketing almost as its own independent game within 3D World, which is very exciting. That's the most exciting part of it for me personally. I feel like that's like there's not much else I would have expected them to do to make me want to buy this game again. Like, I think they pretty much did the best, and the game just looks better, for the record. I think that's another thing to add. Like, graphically, the game looks and runs better. So all of that together makes it seem like a sweet deal, actually. So I think that is ideal. But then you look at Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Graphically, the game, from what I've heard and seen, it's like exactly the same. So they didn't enhance it visually at all. But they did have some really nice quality of life improvements, and they did give us the Olimar and Louis prologue and epilogue missions, which added like an additional like 3 or 4 hours of gameplay to the game. But it wasn't like new areas; it's just more like remixed content. So like basically just reuse the same piece like models and assets from the game and just reconfigured that.
In the hot and spicy mode, or what was that, hot and spicy mode?
Oh yeah, that was a harder difficulty. Yeah. So I mean that was it. I wouldn't say it's as much as 3D World, but it was still like solid. Now I'll be frank, I didn't buy Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I might still do it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But my point is that I'm more excited for 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, because that Bowser's Fury thing is like really exciting. So yeah. I mean, there's tiers here, right? I would...
Xenoblade added a big chunk to the prologue.
Yeah,
or the epilogue.
It's not a Wii U port, right? It's a Wii remaster, but it's a really nice remaster. Like, I would say it's way better than most remasters Nintendo's done in the past. Even though I love Wind Waker as a game, I would say Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is a far better remaster. Graphically, it almost looks like a full-blown remake. It's been modernized. It looks comparable to the modern-day Xenoblade games. And there's new content in there, like a whole other campaign, basically, that can be treated as its own independent game almost. And a lot of quality of life changes. And even within that game, there's extra challenge modes. So that's also really nice package. I think Nintendo's done really good with...
Deluxe was a really good deal, too.
Which one?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because you had all the tracks from the original, and then you had that really good battle mode, and the graphical improvement to 1080p was nice.
HD Rumble.
HD Rumble was nice, and it fixed the frame rate stutter, which I only noticed going back and playing the Wii U version. By the way, I finally noticed it. I was like, oh god, I wish I had never seen this. Now I will always see it.
I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I love it, but I'm just gonna say it. I really wish they added more tracks to race on. Like, I just wanted more tracks to race on. I guess the thing is that battle mode, I'm glad that they reworked that. They made it more significant. That's great. But I would have been so happy if they added like 2 other Grand Prix instead. Mainly
not instead of the battle mode.
Maybe, you know what? Not instead. In addition to.
Yeah, that would have been fine. That would have been nice. Even if it was extra DLC.
I would have paid more. I would have paid more. I just wanted more new tracks, because we haven't gotten a new console Mario Kart game technically since 2014. Like, Mario Kart Deluxe is just a remaster of that, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then whenever the DLC came out, that was the last time we got new tracks, which I think was like a year or two.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that long after
about a year, I think. There was 2 different packs, so it came in waves. But it's been a long time. They could have. I mean, we're in 2020, right? Like, they could have theoretically made 2 different Mario Kart games since then. I'm not saying I think a Mario Kart game's around the corner. I just want there to be one. What
do you think next? Do you think Mario Kart Ultimate? Just bring everybody in.
I think. I don't know if they'll go full in, but they're definitely. I think most people will be disappointed if there's not more other Nintendo characters than they already have.
Why is he not in the game?
He's a Mii costume.
Dude, Mario Kart 8 has one of, to be honest, the weaker rosters I've seen in a compilation type game like that. Dude, they got Metal Mario, Pink Peach. What is Pink Peach?
Pink Gold Peach.
Yeah, they got a Koopa Troopa. I'm sorry, I don't care about a Koopa Troopa.
I don't understand.
I'm curious how you guys feel about this, but in Double Dash, the characters had basically their own signature items. Would you like them to do the Smash Kart thing? Maybe not entirely, but at least bring in Link, bring in Kirby, bring in Pikachu, bring in Samus, the core roster, the initial characters in Smash 64.
Roster.
Right, the Smash 64 roster, exactly. Bring in them. and then have at least they each at least deserve to have one stage. I mean, some of them already have it, but bring in a few more.
Captain Falcon's got 2 and he ain't even in the game.
Because that's why. Because instead of giving us a brand new F-Zero, they just gave us 2 DLC tracks for Mario Kart. But I would like them to actually have signature items for each particular character. Do you guys feel me on that, or you guys think that would upset the balance too much?
It depends on how many characters there are. Because if there's too many characters, and I feel like things get too hectic, or you can't add really enough unique items where they don't all start feeling very similar.
As long as you can turn them off if you want to. As long as you can toggle them, make separate modes.
It goes back to the Smash Kart thing, just more customization similar to Smash.
They do that already really well in Mario Kart.
Yeah, you can make your own custom rules and stuff, but
just build on that though. Add even more nuance to those options.
It would be nice if you could toggle off individual items like in Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my thing is that I want more like a variation. Like I pick particular characters just because I like them, but I would like to see some variation with them as well. I guess you run the risk of some characters just being straight up better than others because people find that particular items are just better for winning than others, right? So obviously there's a huge balancing act there. But I mean, let's face it, most people just use Rosaline in a bike anyway. So
it's the same thing that you run into with Smash all the time. But Mario Kart 9 or whatever it's going to be called, it needs something to differentiate from Mario Kart 8. They can't just do the whole anti-gravity thing, and they got to have something new to market. And so that's why, in my mind, I think Mario Kart Ultimate, that's something new. Like, it's Mario Kart, but now we've got all these different characters. But if they went with your idea, that would be another angle that they could use to market this game. This is what's new. Now everybody's got a new power, or specific power that they can do. So I'd be down for that. Yeah, that'd be good.
I got another spin for you. I've talked about it before, but like, what if they kind of made it more like Diddy Kong Racing in the sense that there are some hub worlds to explore? Like, you still have the tracks. Like, they don't.
Yeah, like a story mode.
Yeah, like a story mode where you can kind of explore a little bit. Like, if in Mario Kart Deluxe, one of the things I love about the game is that it's so beautiful, right? Like, the environments are beautiful, and you see that they put some attention to detail with these environments. Like, what if like there was a separate mode where you can kind of go off the tracks a little bit, explore there, see if there's a little bit of story to that. That would be something nice that I think they could add. And it doesn't have to be that expansive necessarily, but something that adds that, like a little bit of a campaign to the game. I would like to see that. So there's a lot of options really in terms of like improving Mario Kart.
Yeah, I always love the story mode they put in, like Crash. What was it? Crash Team Racers. On like the old PlayStations. Yeah, they had some pretty solid like story modes with like a villain and protagonists and stakes. So that's fun. They could easily craft something like that.
I'd like to see in a new Mario Kart stages with better shortcuts, like shortcuts that are really hard to hit. You have to be like skilled to find them and hit them every time, but they give you a decent advantage over everybody else.
Yeah,
because there's not that many shortcuts in Mario Kart 8. Like, there are, but there's not that many.
Yeah, I would like to maybe see a few more, especially if the maps are a little bit more open. Like they can kind of create more options in that way. That would be an interesting take for sure. But let's kind of move on a little bit. I got a super chat from Robert Salazar. Thank you very much, Robert. Link to the Past remake, like Link's Awakening. That would be awesome. A Link to the Past remake would be epic, and if it had like if it was a remake, that had an entirely new engine similar to Link's Awakening, that'd be really cool. I'll say that with Link's Awakening, that had kind of like that chibi toy-like look to it, and I think it works for Link's Awakening because the whole point of Link's Awakening is it's supposed to be kind of like a dream-like environment, right? Yeah. So if they were to do Link to the Past, I would like them to do a slightly different style. But I do kind of like your thinking, though. I would like to see perhaps the next 2D Zelda, even if it's not a remake, use something similar to Link's Awakening, but tweak it a little bit so it's not like a chibi toy-like thing, but something that matches more the story for that game.
I would like the Oracle games to get remade, or Minish Cap.
Minish Cap, thank you.
Minish Cap is probably my favorite 2D Zelda.
It's so underrated. I feel like
the art style is so amazing.
Freaking what's your hat's name? Lezo or Lizo?
I don't remember.
I want to say
It's a weird
Leslo,
name.
but I also have a struggle
I
remembering.
think it has a Z in it.
I know it's got a Z in it for sure, but he's probably like the best companion, dude. He's like a
He's so good.
Eslo. Thank you.
Ezra, yeah.
He's a sassy old man who is your hat. You wear him everywhere you go. Dude, he's the best
pretty great.
companion in any Zelda game. I know people love Midna, and I love Midna too, but Eslo is goated.
Yeah.
Best companion.
He
Ezra
doesn't
is
really
pretty
get
nice.
annoying like a lot of Zelda companions do. He's not as annoying.
I mean, Ezreal gives you like the most important power in the game. So
Yeah, he's
You know.
actually useful.
yeah,
He's powerful. Yeah, he's really useful throughout the game.
yeah. It's not that Midna isn't, but like some of Midna's powers are a little like she's epic. But like for example, when you had to hold down like B to like put out like the orange slow core, that kind of like slowed down the combat a little bit. That was kind of
Yeah.
part of like Midna's like gameplay a little bit. I kind of agree with you. Ezlo, pretty awesome character. I would love to see him in a remake. And Minish Cap is actually my favorite 2D Zelda game as well.
Oh,
So you
look
know,
at us. We're all best friends now.
yeah,
We're all best friends now.
yeah, that would be great to see. So,
And if I don't mention that I don't really like Link to the Past that much, it will be good.
You already mentioned it.
Friends. Oh no! What have I done? There we
It's
go.
aged a little rocky. You know, the fact that you can only move in two planes, like left or forward. You know, like
I just find it
kind of rough.
well, you can make
annoying
the argument that
too-
remaking it might be what it needs then.
Yeah,
It's definitely a good game. It's very obtuse of where you're.
There's
supposed to
some
be going.
really
It
weird.
hardly ever gives you any hints. You just kind of like explore until you find something because you have no idea what you're doing.
There's
Yeah.
some, it's I kind of like it for that actually, but I hear
I
ya.
do like that. Just it's sometimes you get stuck and you're just there for like forever, and you don't even have that many places you can go. You just have no like. There's just one tiny little thing you're supposed to interact with, and you miss it, and you just stuck for
Maybe they
hours
should add an
running around with
Ezlo.
No hints.
an Ezlo sibling or cousin in the
There you go.
Link's to the Past remake that can give Brandon hints
Yes.
for when
You
he's
know what?
lost.
I'm with you, Brandon.
I got lost
I'm-
so often.
I'm an adult with a full-time job, a wife, and responsibilities. I don't have the
Yeah.
time to wander around a map for 5 hours trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Point me in the right direction. Let me solve some puzzles, what have you. But I don't have the time to aimlessly wander around the world forever.
Yes.
I've got dishes to do. I've got laundry to do. You know?
Unless you're playing Breath of the Wild, then you can take all the time. you
Unless
need.
we're playing Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think we're about ready to move on to the next topic. Just gonna put a nice little reminder in there, guys. Make sure to check out Dylan's channels. His Twitch is linked in the description below. Also check out his Twitter, and obviously check out Brandon as WhataboutNodnarb now. Both of them are linked in the description below. But with that, let's now get on to the next topic here, because we only talked about Donkey Kong, right? There's still a few other franchises that are going to be getting some anniversary celebrations. So we're going to get to Zelda. Like I said, I'm putting that one off towards the latter half of the discussion here. But there is something that we're going to be getting relatively soon, and that's Pokemon stuff. Pokemon companies already advertising the 25th anniversary. They've had a few different trailers, some mentions and things of that nature. They usually have some sort of news by Pokemon Day. They like making it clear what their plans are early on in the year for Pokemon. So I am fully expecting a Pokemon presentation of some sort, potentially an actual Pokemon Direct by Pokemon Day, where they will reveal some things, including Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, which I 100%'s a lot. I 90+% believe is actually happening coming out this year.
You're 100%. You just don't want to say so. Essentially.
You never really know, but I am
You're gonna get canceled.
about as confident as I can be in this happening until it's actually confirmed. I can tell you why, but there's a lot.
Yeah, I gotta be straight up with you. I know nothing more than what the internet has told me. I have not played a Pokemon game since Generation 2. Okay, I was born in the 90s. I lived through the absolute height of Pokemon greatness. I remember waking up early in the mornings to watch the anime. I played blue version. My brother had red. He made me trade him all my best Pokemon because I didn't know what I was doing. I played silver version. I enjoyed
My
Lugia.
first
Very
Pokemon
awesome.
game.
I tried picking up Let's Go Pikachu because I thought, oh, it's Gen 1. It'll kind of, make that spark again. And I didn't even finish Let's Go Pikachu. So I only know what the internet has told me. And I can only ask you guys questions. I'm going to be the question
Ask
asker.
Logics, don't ask me.
That's fine.
don't know.
So let me just tell you why I'm so confident about these Diamond and Pearl remakes. I'll try and be quick. Firstly, there's this news site, Central Pokemon, that is telling us that it's happening, and they have leaked other Pokemon things in the past, such as Sword and Shield DLC and things of that nature. So they have like a history if you're telling us what's going to be happening. So there's that. But also, Generation 4 remakes are the next in line. Usually the generations last about 3 years, and they have some other game. And they've only had one game so far, and then DLC. They're not going to skip another year. And they usually come out with a Pokemon game every single year. The DLC is kind of like an exception year. So there's pretty much certainly going to be a Pokemon game this year, especially considering this is the 25th anniversary. And they're definitely hard pushing and celebrating this. So there's a Pokemon game coming. Generation 4 remakes are the next in line. And considering that they already had DLC, it's not really... I think it's unlikely that they would do a sequel to Galar when they already had DLC kind of continuing that exploration of that area. So they're gonna do something a little bit different. They've been doing remakes. Next in line is Sinnoh, but also historically speaking, they have teased the next Pokemon games within the games themselves and also on their social media leading up to the announcement of them. For example, for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Masuda would just post a whole bunch of pictures of Eevee all throughout his Twitter leading up to the announcement of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Well, now we're just seeing Psyduck everywhere. Psyduck's a Gen 1 Pokemon though, so how does that imply Gen 4? Well, if you look up all in-game events with Psyduck, the only one in the mainline Pokemon games is in Generation 4 where they're blocking a particular route. So, it seems like perhaps Masuda is teasing something related to Psyduck as he does every year for Pokemon games. On top of that, there are several potential hints of Generation 4 within Sword and Shield, which they also have historically done with every single Pokemon game. They have something or several subtle hints hinting towards the next one. There is this Krogunk statue in your rival's room. There is the Dynamax Vespiquen with the honey. There's a few different things like that. So all of that, kind of coming together. And I basically think Diamond and Pearl remakes are probably happening. Another big one, though, is that they need to complete the National Dex before the end of the generation. There's a few hundred Pokemon left. So basically a whole new release would complete that. And, well, the interesting thing is that if you look at all of the missing legendaries and mythicals, the generation that's missing the most is Generation 4. So the best way to complete that would be by going to that region to complete that. So yeah, Diamond and Pearl remakes I think are pretty likely. I think that's probably going to be a big part of Pokemon's 25th anniversary celebration, which we'll see next month. And I think it's going to be pretty dope.
Now, when you say remake, what style? Like, is it going to be like a Let's Go or more of like a Sword and Shield style?
Sword and Shield style. The Central Pokemon League say it won't be Let's Go style. But also, if you look at how Pokemon companies handled all of their remakes in the past, save for Let's Go, because that's kind of like the exception, right? They've all been in the same engine as that particular generation. So they just use Sword and Shield. They're gonna repurpose that engine, use it because that makes more sense. They save money in that way, and they're gonna probably remake Diamond and Pearl with that graphical engine. But it'll probably look a little bit better because as the generation goes on, they slowly kind of improve it and polish it up. So that's the expectation. It's also what I would like to see. Now, what isn't necessarily an expectation, though, is like including the open wild area segments. That's what I want. That's more of a wish. I think it makes sense. I think that'd be a really great idea for them to include that kind of gameplay in there. But doing that will require reworking the map a fair bit, and they may not do that for a remake, but that's what I would like to see.
We were just talking about, how much work is Nintendo putting into ports, and remakes. That would be great if they could add a wild area, or just a big open area to explore.
It would. I might scream, just to be totally honest with you. Like, yeah, like I'd be pretty excited if they do it. But going beyond that, I mean, we're already getting new Pokemon Snap, and that looks gorgeous. So I'm really excited about that as well. Beyond that, for Pokemon, honestly, like that's personally all I need. But maybe I would also like to see some virtual console releases of maybe Generation 1 and 2 on the Switch eShop. That would be nice as well. So that way you kind of are celebrating the beginning, the new, and even bringing back an old spin-off that is quite beloved.
You say bring it to the online service?
Yeah, just the eShop.
Oh, an eShop. Okay, I was gonna say, because if you put on the online service, you start talking about Game Boy games coming to the online service, that would cause a whole wave of stuff.
Well, actually, it's an interesting point you bring up, because they do need to update that at some point or another. There's been a lot of talk about adding Game Boy Online, and what's interesting is that if my theory is right, and it probably isn't, but if my theory is right and we get a Nintendo Direct of some sort in February, that would be shortly before like Pokemon news, right? And then if they announce like a Nintendo, like a Game Boy Online segment or an expansion to Nintendo's online services, then during the Pokemon Direct, they'd be like, oh yeah, we're gonna add a few more games to that service, and that includes Red and Blue that were on the Game Boy, you know? Like, that would be rather fitting, I think. But obviously, you know, just a theory there, but either way, I think it makes sense to add a couple more Pokemon games, old Pokemon games, to the eShop. However they do it, in some way, it'll be playable on the eShop. Yeah.
Do you think they're done with Let's Go games? No,
I don't know. That's tough. It's tough because it sold well, but also Sword and Shield sold even better, right?
Yeah.
I think when Let's Go came out, like there were interviews if they would do it again, and they weren't like opposed to the idea. But I think part of the thing is it depends how relevant Pokemon Go is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was coming out right in the height of Pokemon Go, so it was kind of.
Yeah, like it would have even been better if Let's Go had come out even sooner. At like I think what Pokemon Go came out 2016, Let's Go Kanto came out 2018. So like, assuming they don't have a Let's Go game coming out this year, which is not out of the question, right? But right now the leaker, rumor, speculation, the evidence seems to be suggesting Diamond and Pearl remakes instead. Like the next in line for Let's Go would be Johto. So they could do that later, but if they do that later, we're talking about maybe at least 2 to 3 years from now, right? So that's an even larger window past the initial release of Pokemon Go. Will Pokemon Go still be relevant then? I'm not sure. And I could see Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee being kind of like a one-off.
It's possible. I mean, I don't play Pokemon Go anymore. I played for those 2 amazing weeks. Yeah, right? Those first like 2 weeks that were incredible. I don't play Pokemon Go anymore, but I know it's still popping. It's still got a huge player base.
I have several coworkers who still play Pokemon Go. I'm like, oh
yeah, like, wow, props to you. You're gonna catch them all. Good for you.
Yeah, actually, another interesting thing. Apparently, according to some of my friends, it's been a lot easier to catch the Gen 4 starters in Pokemon Go. So could be another hint. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know. But I guess at this point, if we don't get Let's Go Johto, then we might not see the Let's Go series for a while. But who knows? They may have like a major expansion update to Pokemon Go in the future.
Yeah.
All right, kitten. Nope, not on the keyboard. Go the other way.
I gotta lock my door. My cats will bust it down.
Go the other way, buddy.
He's trying to send a message in the chat. What are you
Yeah. No. You realize I'm alive, right? Stop trying to drink my water.
I somehow doubt that they do.
He probably doesn't. He's probably just saying some talking to no one. All right, buddy.
My owner's a psychopath.
This is him.
And he's been talking to himself again, guys. I don't know what's happening.
Down you go, buddy. All right. Yeah, but you know, I think there's definitely some serious potential for some exciting Pokemon stuff here. But let's kind of check it with the chat, see what you guys are thinking, and then we'll move on. Unless you guys have any more questions or points you want to bring up for Pokemon.
No, man. I mean, I'm looking at my notes, and I got something for Zelda, Metroid, Donkey Kong, and then the Pokemon section I wrote down and titled and made it look pretty. I have literally nothing, no bullet points.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's see. Birdman Anatomy. Masuda has always teased the year's Pokemon game TT Sword and Shield the year before the game released, and also for Sun and Moon. Exactly, yeah. Like it's not like, in general, when it comes to like speculation, theorizing about what's coming in next, especially for Nintendo games, looking at what different game directors are posting on Twitter isn't always the best way to predict what's happening next. But Masuda is the exception, because this is what he does every year. This is not like some major crazy secret. He does it every year. So yeah, the fact that he's putting out these weird Psyduck tweets all the time, and there seems to be subtle signs for Gen 4 and Sword and Shield, that's not really pulling at straws here, you know? Now maybe like the Sunshine Mario tweet might have been, but hey, we did get at least Sunshine in 3D All-Stars, so you know, maybe. But kind of continuing on with the chat here, DE Fox added me. The world of the Diamond Pearl Remix done in the style of the Crown Tundra would be amazing. All the towns and routes would be one world instead of different zones. And I think that's also an exciting idea there. So for those of you who didn't get to play the DLC, one of the great things about the DLC in Sword and Shield is that they kind of improved upon the game more so, I would say, because the main campaign for Sword and Shield, yes, there is a wild area, which was nice, but most of the towns that you explore were not in wild area. It was kind of like a separate thing. So you would have this controllable camera, a free roaming camera. You'd be able to explore this 3D open environment with Pokemon roaming around. You step into a town and all of a sudden it's like a different game. And it didn't look ugly or anything like that. Actually, those parts of the game looked prettier because I guess it was easier for them to make that run better. But the gameplay wise, it felt limiting. But in the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLCs, those areas that they expanded to were entirely open. They were entirely wild area, and the Crown Tundra actually had a town in it. So they were able to have town exploration gameplay and NPCs and things of that nature integrated into this open environment, and that was pretty cool. So they can actually redesign Sinnoh for the Diamond and Pearl remakes in that style of the Crown Tundra. Oh my goodness, I would be like ridiculously excited. But because Game Freak has a tendency to be conservative, I'm going to side on, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to say probably not, but I'm prepared for it to not be that amazing. But I would love it for you that amazing. And I'll also say that when you look at how their Pokemon company and Game Freak have their games developed, you can see where they're headed with their games. So even when you take a look at Pokemon Let's Go, they had Pokemon following you, and they had roaming Pokemon. So what happened? In Sword and Shield, they actually had roaming Pokemon all throughout the game. Finally, in a mainline Pokemon game, roaming Pokemon were a thing. And even though the following Pokemon wasn't in initially with the DLC, they brought it in. Point is that when you see them explore ideas, you can kind of see the direction they're headed in. And if you look at the DLC and how they were entirely wild area, entirely open, it does feel like that's the direction of design they're headed in with their worlds. But the question is, like, because that may be the case for the next generation, the next Pokemon game, they do sometimes take steps back. Like, so the Diamond and Pearl remakes might be a step back before they take that full step forward where it's fully open. So I'm not like 100% like convinced that that's how it's going to be, but boy, that is what I want for sure. So fingers crossed. But I think we're pretty much ready to move on to the next topic here. Something you guys you may be able to relate to a little bit more. Okay. Now, don't fall out of your seats here, but I also think there is a hope, like a reasonable hope, not like a wish upon a star hope, but a little bit more, that there's going to be something Metroid coming out this year, and maybe in time for the 35th anniversary this August, which would be a great time to release what you may see on screen. Metroid Prime Trilogy.
It's gotta be coming. It's gotta be.
Yeah?
Right?
I think so.
It makes so much sense. It makes like the most sense right now.
Yeah, I mean...
Not only to celebrate the anniversary, but of course to hype up Metroid Prime 4, which is... I mean, I don't want to speculate too much. I don't want to go down that path.
Probably not this year.
Yeah, no, not this year.
No.
Next year, maybe even the year after. But Now's the time, dude. They've got to.
I
And I hope
feel
it. If they do, I want motion controls because that's how I experienced it the first time on the Wii. I played the entire trilogy on the Wii. Metroid Prime's probably my second or third favorite game of all time.
That's a good ranking. Healthy.
It's amazing. I've been waiting for it, but what I want to know is if they're going to do any kind of polish or any kind of remake, or if it's just going to be a little HD upscale kind of thing. So
I hate being like super conservative. It's like, hey, it'll just be the game. Like,
hey, keep your expectations in check. That's healthy,
but
especially
it's
in
not
this
as
business.
exciting. I want it to be a full blown like HD remake. It's not though. Like I don't think it's that. I think best case scenario, it gets kind of like a Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition sort of like enhancement.
Yeah.
I think worst case scenario, it gets a 3D All Stars enhancement.
So like no enhancement.
It's
like,
the game's in 1080p.
Yeah.
And the font looks more clean.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see even just like a simple like Wind Waker HD style enhancement, just HD textures.
But
they
lighting
probably
engine.
already own them,
Mhm.
yeah. And then a new lighting engine.
That would do
You
a
guys
lot.
ever-
If I don't know if Retro Studios is like this, but a lot of Nintendo like companies, their game companies, they just or their studios, I should say, they just have assets on hand for like every game they've ever made. Just all the high resolution assets. So I wouldn't be surprised if Retro Studios has that for Prime as well. So they just slap those on in there, slap the higher resolution versions, and then add a new lighting engine. I think the games will look pretty good because the art style is just holds up really well already. So
Yeah.
I'm more with you, Andres. I'm not super optimistic that they're gonna give it like a huge polish, huge remake or whatever. But have y'all seen that there's a fan made
Like
Talon Force, like
the
first level
it
of Metroid Prime?
looks incredible.
Yes.
It's
Oh my god.
it's usually Unreal Engine 4, I think, but it's not like those crappy Sonic demos.
it
where
it
Yeah.
feels
it's just,
organic.
like, generic
Yeah.
green grass area with Sonic.
No,
I would shed tears.
that one is
I would
well
shed tears.
well crafted, but I mean, I just don't think it's reasonable to expect that because they're working on Metroid Prime 4. That's what they're
Agreed.
developing, you know.
Agreed.
And
But
honestly, I'm not even sure Metroid Prime 4 will look as good as that demo. It was insane.
I think in some ways it may, but not like in terms of like sheer like Brandon, we talked about the other day on Twitter, like just like there's a difference between like art style, right, and like just technical like amazingness, you know, like there's a difference there. Like a lot of Switch games look amazing, like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, but it's not because they couldn't run on like other pieces of hardware like PS3s and the 360. Like we were talking about the other day, like you feel that Breath of the Wild could theoretically run on a 360, and I don't disagree with that. It might look slightly worse, but not like significantly worse, right?
Yeah.
So the point is that with a lot of Nintendo games, a lot of their beauty, a lot of the reasons why they look so amazing has more to do with the choices in art design. Like for example, look at Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury isn't even as graphically impressive as Mario Odyssey, right? But it's just like seeing those contrastive colors, seeing some of those nice little effects, but like it just comes together and it's just something that's very like pleasing to the eye.
Stylistic.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
stylistic. So
Very clean.
I think when we see Prime 4, it is going to be like a technical showcase as far as Nintendo games go. But ultimately, I think where it's going to like stand above other things, including that Unreal Engine thing, is that its art design is what's going to push it above other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, going back to Prime Trilogy, though, Brandon, like, I think like the best case scenario is to your point, like, you know, enhanced HD textures, like you put that in there. They already have it in there. It's not like they have to remake them, right? They just insert that basically. I'm not saying it's that simple, but it wouldn't take them an extremely long time to do that. And then perhaps play around with the lighting engine, like to another one of your points, like Wind Waker HD, and that would make it look pretty good. Like that would be a nice boost but it wouldn't be like ridiculous. But it would be nice. And then you give us the motion controls, you know, like you suggested, Dylan, but also have like a pro controller or dual analog style as well. Have both.
Kind of out there idea, again, harkening back to our added content to remakes and ports and stuff. What if they included a Prime 4 demo with the Prime Trilogy remake?
Oh my goodness. They don't do that too
When
much.
was the last time they included a demo with a game?
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I've heard anybody do that.
Actually, I
But
think
the thought
Yeah.
literally just went across my brain. I was like, I'll throw it out there.
It would be cool, but they also could just drop the demo on its own whenever, you know.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, like, if they drop a demo for Prime 4, they're like not that far off, right? I don't expect a demo this year, but
Well, they could say, like, if you buy the Prime Trilogy, you get the demo early. If you don't, the demo's coming in 2 months or in a month or 2 months or something like
yeah,
that.
I mean, I would love to see that. I'm not expecting it, but I would love to see that. Like, I think, like, I want to see like new content in Trilogy, like that would be a wish, right? Like, I would love to see like some form of new content. Like, for example, in the original Prime, like there are some cut boss fights. For example, there were plans to bring in Kraid, and that wasn't finalized, right? There's not even like a giant boss fight in Magmore Caverns. Like there's usually like at least one boss fight in every major area in the Prime games, but Magmore Cavern is this huge magma cavern, and there
Seems
is no,
right where you would be.
there's no giant boss fight there. So, you know, it'd be cool if they could add something like that. Don't expect it, but that would be amazing. No, hear me out though. Like, I get what some people might think. Well, if they're adding all this new extra content, these new campaigns for all of these other remasters and ports, why wouldn't they do it for Prime Trilogy? Well, the difference is that Prime Trilogy is a trilogy. It's a triple pack, right? And if we were to believe rumors, this game's actually been done for a few years already, and they've just been saving because Prime 4 had to restart development. That's why we haven't seen it. If you look at 3D All-Stars, that might be, you know, more of what maybe we should expect because it's a triple pack. Now, here's the other thing, though. I guarantee you that if Nintendo felt that they would have sold even more 3D All-Stars by completely, like, by adding new content in there, they would have done it. I think they sold 3D All-Stars as it was because that's all they need to do to have great sales and celebrate the anniversary, right? Prime Trilogy, on the other hand, is more niche. So it being a bit more ambitious is kind of needed to make it really sell well, right? Like, look at Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's an ambitious remaster, but it needed it because Xenoblade's not nearly as big as a Mario or a Zelda, you know? It doesn't just sell on name alone. So, you know, I would expect Prime Trilogy to be at least a bigger sort of improvement over the original release compared to, say, 3D All-Stars. But definitely not as much as Definitive Edition because it's 3 games in 1.
So as you said, the purpose of Prime Trilogy is to get new eyes onto the Prime or onto the Metroid franchise, get them pumped up for Prime 4. And so when it comes to the anniversary, my thoughts have been, okay, Metroid is more of a niche franchise. It's not the pinnacle of Nintendo right now. So does that mean that they do more or less for the anniversary? Do they do more because it's niche, or do they do less, like only one game or something like that, because it's niche?
Well, probably less, I'd imagine.
So I'll tell you this. I am of the belief because of... I think there's 2 different Metroid games besides Prime 4. One of them's Prime Trilogy, the other's a 2D Metroid. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if the pandemic never happened, we would have already had one of them. I think 2D Metroid might have been actually something that should have come out sooner. And actually, it kind of goes along the line with a theory that Brandon had in the past, that Nintendo's plan was to have one Metroid game come out in 2020, another one in 2021, and Prime 4 in 2022. But the pandemic screwed everything up. But let's assuming that was their plan, right? So it's possible one of the games that was supposedly pushed out because of the pandemic was this 2D Metroid. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out a little bit earlier this year and we get Prime Trilogy like around August or September, which is when we have Metroid's 35th anniversary. So maybe that. Of course, also we may just get like the 2D Metroid this year and Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out next year, or vice versa, right? But I do feel like both are kind of like not too far off. If we're just talking about straight up wishes, my wish is that we get both this year. But you know, that may not. I think it's possible that does still happen, but obviously, you know, we haven't gotten any Metroid game in a long time, and now we're talking about maybe getting 2 in a year, right? So like maybe I should dial my expectations back a little bit, but I do think it's actually possible. So
you think Mercury Steam?
Yeah, I think Mercury Steam has been working on that 2D Metroid game. Yeah, I think it's really just kind of a matter of when, not if, in terms of revealing that, because we actually haven't even seen them put out any other major projects since Samus Returns in 2017. So they've been working on something. They haven't just been on vacation for 4 years. Like they've been working on something. So I think that can maybe happen. So if you, cat's going crazy. If you have a year with Prime Trilogy and 2D Metroid, right, that would do a lot to kind of, you know, really like raise awareness for the franchise.
But I think if we're only getting one or the other, I think Trilogy makes more sense, specifically because of the fact that we haven't gotten a lot of Metroid lately, you know? And Prime is just, let's be honest, Prime's just way more popular and mainstream than the 2D Metroid games are. And the last game we got that was an actual Metroid game was a 2D one. It's been a while since we've gotten Prime anything. I think if they release Prime Trilogy, even though it's not a new Prime game, people would be like, Prime something. They'll be happy, and then knowing that Prime 4 is in development, they'll be satisfied for that eventuality, and then you can put out a 2D Metroid, and I think it would be received a lot better than if you put out, it's like, okay, we haven't had a Prime game in forever, and now we get two 2D games in a row, but we don't get anything for Prime. I think fans might be a little salty about that.
Yeah, I agree. If it's between the two, if it's between Prime or a 2D game, I think it's going to be the Prime Trilogy. It's the more appealing looking, you know, in modern days. Metroid Prime is technically a first-person, maybe not a shooter, but that first-person perspective will maybe trick some fans who don't know. They're like, oh, that looks like that looks like Call of Duty, you know, I'm going to check it out. That looks like Halo, you know. Then we'll trick them and get them to play a puzzle game and love it. So yeah, I think Prime Trilogy would definitely be the one to choose out of the two. Yeah. But I'm with you, Andres. Give me both, please.
Yeah,
please
just give us both. That's fine.
Come on.
That's how you solve the problem. Just give us both, and then you know got nothing to worry about. Now, I don't necessarily like. I would love. It's kind of tricky, like in terms of how they would do it. Like if they have both, like ideally you reveal them both at the same time. Like, but it wouldn't make sense actually, because I think if you're going to reveal Prime Trilogy and 2D Metroid, you also want to pair that up with a Prime 4 teaser, right? Like you would do it all together. But if you do that, I feel like that's like a summertime sort of E3 situation to do. So if you save all that for then, at that point, is there really space to have 2 Metroid games come out in the second half of 2021, right? You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of tricky how they would go about doing that if they do have plans to have both these games come out in 2021. But what may make more sense is that maybe they reveal them all around the same time, but one comes out like second half of 2021, the other one comes out like early 2022, and then Prime 4 is like that holiday game. And that way you have, it's like every 6 months or something. So it's like this continuous build up for the series. And I think you could start that off with Prime Trilogy, which I think makes the most sense to bring up to celebrate the history of Metroid. But you could also argue that a 2D Metroid, which is more for the roots of the series, would also be that celebration. But to your point, Brandon, that considering that we already got Samus Returns without getting 3D Metroid stuff, it might make more sense to kind of appeal to that part of the fan base first. So it's a little tricky, but either way, I guess another wish I have for the Metroid anniversary this year, the 35th anniversary, is to reveal Prime 4 in terms of gameplay. Give us that teaser trailer. At some point. You don't have to do it now, but at some point in the year, do that. Let us know what we've been waiting for all this time. Show us what that is. A taste.
Anything.
I would love to see something basically like what we got for Breath of the Wild 2. It doesn't have to be much, but give me an idea of the art design. Give me an idea of how Samus is going to look. And something to hint towards the story. If you want to hint at some gameplay too, I'm not going to complain. But something like that, like a short, like 2-minute trailer.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Be amazing. Now, there is one other thing I want to sort of bring up here in relation to Metroid. Going beyond the 2D Metroid Prime Trilogy and a Prime 4 teaser. I think, obviously merchandising, that'd be great, but I think we shouldn't expect as much merchandising like Mario, like that's just not going to happen. Metroid's a smaller franchise. I think they also, like, of all the franchises we're talking about today, Metroid's the one that is the least likely to receive a whole bunch of merchandising and anniversary celebrations. I think we should just be lucky if we get a game this year, you know? But that said, if we do want to see like this build-up of advertisement and marketing and awareness of the franchise with this 2D Metroid, with this Prime Trilogy, and maybe the teaser for Prime 4, just building up to the release of that major game, so it could become like a new big recurring series like Zelda and Mario. They're going to want to have several things to kind of market that, and they may want to use that anniversary to help do that. But one other thing they can maybe do to sort of add on to all of that is some crossovers. So there's been this speculation going around that maybe Samus could be added to Fortnite. I know, may sound crazy. Why would Nintendo put a character in Fortnite? But Sony put Kratos. Microsoft put Master Chief. And Season 5 in Fortnite is all about adding hunters. Who is the hunter? The actual, like, bounty hunter of gaming? It's Samus. So, like, if Nintendo's gonna have any involvement here and take advantage of crossovers, I think Samus is the one that makes the most sense with the Fortnite event. And another thing to take into consideration here is that Kratos is getting a new game. God of War is coming out this year, as is Halo. So both Sony and Microsoft are using this Fortnite crossover event to market their franchises, right? If there are Metroid plans this year, and it's all about adding in hunters, Nintendo may want to do this. They may want to have Samus available as a part of this crossover. I know a lot of people may not be super excited about Fortnite, but it is something that's huge mainstream. It could help to further market the franchise, and it's something they can maybe announce not too long from now. So, I think it makes sense because actually the season ends in March, I want to say. So
I believe so.
If there is a direct mini or direct in either February or March, the timing would work out to maybe announce at least one of these Metroid games we're hoping for, and maybe also throw in, hey, look, Samus is also coming to Fortnite.
Is Halo and Master Chief, are they permanent skins or are they temporary just for the season?
They're permanent.
I mean, when you buy them, you have them forever.
Yeah.
And you can play them on any system too. You can play them on your Switch. You can play Master Chief. I have the Master Chief skin. I've been playing it on my PlayStation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like one of those Marvel Avengers.
Well, like I don't think like the way that buying skins on Fortnite works. Like you can't just look at this massive catalog and buy everything that's ever brought out. Like everything's a timed sale. So I don't think they'll be available forever for purchase if that's what you're asking, right? You do kind of want to buy them sooner than later because if you don't, you may miss out. So that's something to consider. But the fact that they're even available, it is a crossover, right? It's a marketing thing. And if the other companies are doing it for games they have coming out this year, and supposedly, Nintendo has some plans for Metroid, it makes sense for them to maybe do something like this.
Yeah, so I haven't played Fortnite in a long time, but what I'm trying to figure out is throughout their season, they don't drop all of the skins at the very beginning. They space them out as the event goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've been having different crossover events throughout this season. Like they added Predator actually. I
see Terminator and Sarah Connor got added.
Yeah, like every week or so, they're adding some other character from some sort of series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's still time. They could just slot it in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people argue that Nintendo would never do that, but they've done crossovers before. This would be a relatively minor thing. I don't think it really would impact like the brand of Samus, especially because Samus as a brand isn't really much right now.
Right. They have nothing to lose. You know, why not?
Yeah.
They do it with Smash.
Mario and Link, that's different. Like, I don't think you can get away with having them hold guns, but Samus already shoots things. She kills things. That's her job. So it's a little different. Yeah. But is there anything else you guys are sort of hoping for, or maybe expecting for Metroid's anniversary?
I'm not expecting it, but Samus Returns port from the 3DS over to the Switch.
That game will look good. It looked really good upscaled to HD.
Yeah, fans have been wanting that for a long time, so I don't think it's going to happen, but throw it out there. Why not?
I mean, since we're just talking about wishes, right? Like, I would love to see something Metroid related in Super Nintendo World that shouldn't just be it's Super Nintendo World, not Super Mario World. I want something more than just Mario.
Yeah,
Now I know
it
we've
does
seen
bug
some
me.
Pikmin here and there, and there's the plans for maybe Donkey Kong expansions. But what about Zelda? What about Pokemon? What about Animal Crossing? What about Splatoon? What about Metroid and Star Fox and F-Zero? Like, you have all these other franchises that are part of Nintendo. Give us something. I didn't mention Kirby or Kid Icarus or Earthbound. Like, there's so much that they could do. They have so much material. I would love to see.
Section.
Yeah, Bayonetta adult section for real. That's if Bayonetta's probably one of the ones that'll take a really long time because it's like it's owned by Sega and it's weird. But I would love to see like some sort of Metroid event or ride or something in the park. And the interesting thing though is that for Metroid, it doesn't have to be like a giant roller coaster. It could be like just get one small like building, and it could be like sort of like a VR thing. You know, you step inside this building, you sit down in this little cart, and you're just shooting around things, and they just present everything in like this like VR sort of setup.
Yeah, they give you a blaster, let you change visors as you go.
That'd be super cool, right? It would be awesome. Yeah, it would be kind of like maybe like a highly interactive VR Metroid Time Crisis or House of the Dead kind of thing. That would be epic, right?
Make it like laser tag.
Exactly.
Gear and
that's another way you could do it for sure. That'd be really cool. So I that's a wish. That is not an expectation, at least for this year. Maybe someday. Maybe for Metroid's like 50th anniversary. But you know, hopefully. Brian, you have any other ideas for Metroid?
No, I think we're good.
All right, I think we covered it. With Prime 4 teaser, Prime Trilogy, 2D Metroid, some Metroid crossover, the Metroid like ride, which won't happen, but you know, someday maybe.
They could sell a fully functioning Varia suit.
Ooh, oh
Be
man,
dumb.
that would be sick. I mean, you could use it and go into lava. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
give me a jetpack. Sell me a jetpack, Nintendo.
That's the merchandising we need. That would be great. So I got a super chat here from Robert Salazar that we got earlier. Didn't get to it. Robert Salazar, thank you, said Mario Kart plus Rocket League equals Mario Kart 9.
I would think that'd be more fun than battle mode. I'm not a big battle mode guy. Swap them out. Let's do it.
No.
Like for the battle mode?
Battle mode is so good. And
I don't like
Mario
battle
Kart
mode.
8. What is wrong with you people?
I don't like battle mode.
No, I played like 80 hours of just battle mode.
It's just constantly turning around. It's like, oh, I passed my target.
No.
Oh, they passed by me again.
No, you don't understand. If you play that way, you don't understand how to play. You're
I
playing it
don't know the
wrong.
I don't know the Mario Kart battle meta.
Let's see.
Look
Yeah.
at some strat guides.
That'd be
Mario Kart battle mode noob.
I don't like. I'll tell you that. I mean, I know some people love the battle mode in Mario Kart Deluxe, but it wasn't enough for me. Like I need
It's
them
the
to
best it's ever been. in
I need
any
more
of the
then.
Mario Kart games.
I am insatiable. I need more. I don't know. So they gotta tweak.
There's like
tweak it
8
just a little
unique
bit.
maps and like 4 different
It's
modes.
not the maps. It's just the gameplay.
There's 4 different modes and they're all awesome. Or there's like 5, I think, actually.
I don't know. For some reason, I just really liked it on N64. Like that was.
They
That's what it
have
was.
that mode in the game. The same mode. Oh my god. Whatever. We agree to disagree.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
your terrible
for some reason
opinions.
you think Sunshine's bad, which I just can't.
I didn't say it's bad. It's just not
Hey,
amazing.
well, I'm
It's
not
a
saying
very
that now.
average game.
I'm not saying battle mode's bad in Mario Kart Deluxe. I'm just saying I don't like it.
I rage quit more times playing Mario Sunshine than I did Demon Souls.
Yes, because that game is frustrating and
Sunshine
annoying
is the
and
original.
tedious
Is the original Souls game.
I had to make a pact with myself and my viewers that I would not stream Mario Sunshine anymore because I raged so hard on
I
stream.
got mad
And
too.
afterwards, I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my!" I just lost my mind with Mario Sunshine, dude. I can't play this.
I'll give you that after going back to it and playing through it to the end credits. I didn't 100% it, but I got close. In 3D All Stars, like it was. I understand why some people have a problem with the game, because there are some very unforgiving moments or janky areas. The pachinko level is just maddening. Maddening.
Somehow I beat that first try and I have no idea to this day.
You
how I
are
did
blessed. Like
it.
that
Was
is,
first try or it was
that is-
very quickly. It's on stream.
That
I
is-
don't remember.
that is tough, man. That
I
is
did like
tough.
the game. I did like the game. It just had its moments of
It's a
couple
very
holes in my
7
wall.
out of
A couple
10.
holes in my wall, it's
I'm
okay.
an average game.
Yeah. And then there's like that chucking level, like
No, I'm a jokester. Let me throw you in a random effing direction.
you
off
can
a cliff to
kind
your death.
of you can kind of gear it a little bit, but you got to be careful about how you position yourself. But I'll tell you that, like, I decided to go for 100 coins, and I just needed a couple more coins, and I decided to go to that part. So once you go to this part, you can't get any more, right? So you're stuck. If you die, you lose all your coins, and it just got chucked, and I died. I worked
Any
all the way
level
up.
I call him Metal Mario. It's not Metal Mario. I don't know who that is.
Shadow
That
Mario?
goes-
Yeah.
Mario
Shadow Mario.
with the paintbrush.
Yeah, yeah.
Any of those side stages were trouble for me. They were not good for my health.
I mean, I liked them because they were like a precursor to Galaxy, right?
Honestly, those were the only stages I actually enjoyed.
Mm. All right, let's move on because you guys are going to continue to hurt my feelings about Sunshine. So let me just check in with the chat here. What's going on here? Drone President, a Metroid and Halo crossover, guys. That would be so cool. That would be kind of crazy. They've always been sort of like they have a history. Like the Prime games are coming out around the same time as like the early Halo games, and there was like this kind of like fanboy rivalry with them. So it would be interesting to see like Microsoft and Nintendo at least like acknowledge that there's gameplay is very different, but like at least acknowledge like that history a little bit, and like, oh, each company has like that visored like shooting hero. Like it would be kind of
goes together well.
Yeah, like even if it's like, say for example, the whole Samus Fortnite thing actually happens, so like if that happens, right, like maybe they could have like some sort of tweet where like, oh look, you can play as Master Chief and Samus in Fortnite together. Like, isn't that neat? You know, like something like that maybe.
We'll see it when they put Master Chief in Smash. We'll see it. Don't worry.
Oh my god, what if Master Chief's in Smash? That'd be just crazy. That would be
hype.
crazy. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, it would just be insane. Let's see. Maximum Effort was actually agreeing with Game Boy Classic from earlier on Zelda 1 and 2 remakes. You don't care too much for 3D Zelda games except for Breath of the Wild. Okay. Let's see here. Joshua Ayers, why discuss anything now? It's too early still. You do way too many Sunday podcasts, Andres. It's every Sunday.
We're just too consistent, guys.
Too many. That's what they are, right? I mean, right now we're just doing.
And honestly, just laughed.
We're just doing like anniversary wishes, right? Like, we don't know what's gonna happen. We think it's gonna be a pretty exciting year. But you know, we'll see what the future holds.
Also, not a lot of news this week.
There is not much news this week, right? No.
Yeah.
No. It's like maybe a calm before the storm, or maybe a calm before more calm.
Ah, God.
Then eventually,
Say that.
Yeah, a calm before the calm. See, that was most of 2020. Don't worry, guys. we'll get something 6 months later. Hey, look, we got something. Yeah, 2020 was rough, but most
like
people
Wii U
think
era
2021 is gonna be a little different. I think Nintendo. I mean, if you just look at what we're getting so far, like the beginning of this year is pretty nice. Bowser's Fury, Bravely Default 2 in February. Monster Hunter Rise is really good. If you guys haven't played the demo yet, you should definitely check it out. This is an awesome game. And then new Pokemon Snap in April. Like Nintendo has like a decent looking beginning of the year already, and they're just getting started. So you know, we got some things to look forward to, I think. And with that in mind, I think it's now time to move on to the final topic of the evening. Zelda. We've alluded to it earlier. Zelda is getting its 35th anniversary. It's coming up this February on the 21st. We're not sure if maybe they'll announce it then or if they'll wait later. But Zelda's huge. Zelda has become bigger than it ever has been in the past. Heck, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is one of the best Zelda franchise games. It's not even a mainline Zelda game. That's how big Zelda has become on the Nintendo Switch. Breath of the Wild is by far the best-selling Zelda game of all time. It's actually selling better than Super Mario Odyssey, which has never happened. We've never seen a mainline 3D Zelda outpace its mainline 3D Mario counterpart until the Switch generation. That's nuts. Zelda has just reached a whole other level of potential and audience here. So with that all in mind, and just the history of Nintendo already celebrating the different 5-year anniversaries for Zelda, like 25th, for example, and the 30th, I think there's gonna be something. Like, they didn't do anything super major for 30th, but they do something at least. Considering that Breath of the Wild 2 has been in development for a while, there do seem to be plans for Zelda's 35th anniversary. There was also trademarks made for a lot of Zelda merchandising the same way they did for Mario. We got a whole bunch of Mario stuff. People think we're getting Zelda stuff, and then everyone's theorizing about some sort of Zelda collection. I'm thinking we're gonna get Skyward Sword HD, but point is, it does seem like there's some cool Zelda stuff that could be happening this year. So I'll kind of shut up for a moment. Dylan, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. What would you can tell me what you think we're gonna get, but also I'd like to hear what you would like to see if it's any different for Zelda this year in terms of what they may do to celebrate the anniversary.
Yeah, so there's a couple of possibilities that they could go with. I mean, they could do, as you mentioned, Skyward Sword remaster, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. Not only is it the 35th anniversary of Zelda, but it's a 10-year anniversary for Skyward Sword. One thing I don't see a lot of people talk about, though, when talking about the Skyward Sword remake, is the music collection.
Yes,
that 25th anniversary music collection.
That was pretty cool.
So it'd be really cool and very full circle if, when they release the Skyward Sword remake, if it happens, if it also comes with a digital Zelda 35th anniversary music collection, orchestra. That'd be sweet, right? That'd be awesome. Other options, of course, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask bundle pack, a Twilight Princess, Wind Waker bundle pack, physical goods. I'm sure they're gonna have a ton of different t-shirts and jewelry and stickers and keychains, all that good stuff. What do I think is going to happen? Well, if we're getting Breath of the Wild 2 in the holiday, that's already one Zelda game.
It's a big one.
A big one. If they did an Ocarina of Time and a Majora's Mask collection, that makes 3 Zelda games in a year. And I know they want to do that annual Zelda release, one per year at least, right? So I know I kind of look at it and say, and that's going to go beyond the Switch's lifespan too. They want to do one Zelda year, Zelda game per year, forever, right? Way past the Switch. So part of me looks at that and says they don't want to flood 2021 with too many Zelda games.
I agree.
So I'm kind of leaning towards Skyward Sword in the early, the first half of 2021, and then Breath of the Wild in the holiday. Anything in the middle, I'm kind of not sure. I mean, they could do a little arcade spin-off game like they did with Mario 35. I don't know exactly what they do. They could maybe do a Zelda dungeon creator game, kind of like a Mario Maker.
We did have that Link's Awakening thing, right? What if that was the beginnings of it?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
like expand upon that mechanic and make a full game out of it. Now, it would be a lot more difficult to make a good Zelda dungeon than it would to make a Mario game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. But I've thought about that. I don't know. I don't want to get too hype and be like, oh yeah, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Skyward Sword, and then Breath of the Wild and the Holiday. That just sounds like way too good to be true, right? So I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards the cautious side. Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, physical merchandise, and maybe like one little spin-off game somewhere in between.
That's about as much as I expect, really. I mean, we're like on the exact same page, to tell you the truth. I see that Taker actually provided a super chat, and thank you very much, Taker. And what he said is an interesting point. Every Zelda game ever made on Switch, nothing less. That would be amazing, right? Like that would be amazing. Say it again.
That'd be a hell of a celebration.
Yeah, it really would be. I mean, they kind of did that for Mario, right? So like, I see why some people may expect that, but I really love your point, Dylan, that they like to come out with a Zelda game pretty much every year. I mean, they've been doing it consistently for the last few years. Even when it looked like they weren't going to do it, they still did it with Age of Calamity, right? So yeah. I am of that belief as well. There's going to be at least one Zelda game per year. So if they just bring everything out now, what are they going to have in the future? Like, I think they got to pace themselves a little bit there. Now, obviously, they can just make new Zelda stuff, right? For sure. They can remake some games. They can do things like that. It would be nice to see a ground-up new 2D Zelda game at some point on the Switch.
Yes.
Like, well, remakes are great, but what about a new 2D Zelda game, you know? I would love to see what they could do with that. Now, granted, I would like to see it after Breath of the Wild, too, but I still would like to see it at some point in the Switch's lifetime, right? So that's something they could do maybe for 2022 or 2023, you know? And then they throw in another remaster there at some point. Like, there's things they can do. They could have another Zelda spin-off, bring back Link's crossbow training. Maybe not that one, but something, you know? There's options.
They put some additional content in there and $60.
Yeah, actually, here's an interesting thing that I just remembered. And Brandon, you'll appreciate this because you always like telling me that why aren't you talking about Monolith Soft? Like they have that game that they've been working on. So like there was they put out some concept art early on when they were putting out hirings for games that they're working on, and one of those pieces of concept art is like straight up Zelda. It doesn't look like Zelda at first. It's like that one looks kind of like a Dark Soulsy kind of environment, like an old ancient area. But if you zoom in on it, there's like the Hylian symbols in it. And that's like an official piece of concept art that Monolith Soft has released. So it could just be that they just playing around with the idea, but what if they have some sort of Zelda spin-off that they're working on as well, you know? So like, what if like this year we get Breath of the Wild 2 and Skyward Sword HD? I think that kind of makes sense. Then next year we get maybe that Monolith Soft Zelda spin-off. And I have no idea what that would be, but it'd be really cool. Like, what if it's like some sort of like MMORPG kind of thing, but set in a Zelda world? Like, that would be sick, right? It would be different enough from normal Zelda gameplay that it would make sense to have it as a separate thing, but it would still be like super, super cool, and it would still excite the Zelda fan base. And then maybe the year after that, you get 2D Zelda. Like, so they can do things, right? It doesn't just have to be like remakes and ports. Like, they can just start coming out with more Zelda spin-offs the same way they do for Mario.
Yeah.
Expand the franchise, expand the brand. They're doing it. Age of Calamity is you know, perhaps not the final spin-off we'll see for Zelda on the Switch. So I think there's some options there, for sure. But if I were just to kind of go full-blown wishes mode here, I want that Zelda Monolith Soft spin-off now, right? But I also would love to see every Zelda game on Switch now. Like that is obviously the wish. It's not the expectation. And I would love to see Skyward Sword HD. Like, I want not just the port of the base Wii game, but like enhance that thing. You know, like give us some quality of life changes, make exploration a little bit easier, smooth out like those padded out segments that people continuously complain about. Change around the controls so you can play without motion controls. Still have the motion controls as an option. Maybe even work on them a little bit more, make them even better. But give us both options. That would be amazing. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I think it can be done, and I think it'd be an amazing package. And I think that's actually something that, while it's a wish, I think it's also something that we could actually see this year.
Do you have an idea of how they would do the just like Pro Controller controls for Skyward Sword?
I'm sure Brandon will vouch for this. Just map the motion controls to the right analog stick. they do it for like Dolphin
Yeah.
playthroughs and stuff, and it works just fine. There's a game that's similar in terms of like sword gameplay, Metal Gear Rising. So it's been done before. Now I don't know how well it would work in practice because I haven't done it myself, and I don't know if Nintendo will think it will work well in practice. Sometimes they make decisions that we think are kind of weird, you know, but from their perspective, like, because at the end of the day, it comes down to someone's opinion of what makes sense, and maybe they have a team of people, but you know, it's ultimately what they decide to do, which isn't necessarily what we think makes the most sense, you know. So it's obviously hard to say for sure. Another possibility is that instead of like reworking Skyward Sword HD to this extent, what they do is they just give us Skyward Sword, they upscale it HD, maybe clean up the textures a little bit so it still looks really nice, you know. It's like, if you ever seen Skyward Sword on Dolphin, it looks great. It still looks great. So they can do that and the game will still look a lot better, but bundle that in with a collection of maybe Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, right? And they'll be able to get away with not having dual analog controls for Skyward Sword if you could play the other two games with a Pro Controller, and just that one you have to play with Joy-Cons. Like,
this does look good. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks great, right?
It looks super good.
But I think they could get away with not putting standard like dual analog controls if Skyward Sword is bundled in with other games that do have it. So that's another possibility, actually.
One thing I forgot to mention was a potential special edition Switch for Zelda.
Ooh. Oh, well, if we're talking about
gold
wishes here, I would like to see a Breath of the Wild 2 Switch Pro bundle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you're opening up the Switch Pro box of worms.
Well, I mean, you said Switch bundle.
I didn't say anything about Switch Pro.
No, you didn't. I did. But this is not a predictions discussion, guys. This is a wishes discussion. To be clear, right? This is wishes in the title. I would love to see 4K Breath of the Wild 2 with a specialized bundle. Like, that would be amazing. Bundle it in with a special like Zelda Pro Controller. Like, it would be just awesome. It would be awesome. Like, it would be super cool. Now, like, some people speculate that maybe Breath of the Wild 2 launches alongside this rumored Switch Pro. Could be. If they do that, if there was going to be a bundle, let's say it comes out come out for the holidays together, I think, while that would make sense, I don't think it would be like a Zelda branded like Switch Pro, like, because it would be the initial Switch Pro to come out, you know, like you want to have like a normal Switch Pro come out first, but they can get it. But if the Switch Pro comes bundled with a Pro Controller, you can have that Pro Controller be heavily Zelda specialized. We've seen some awesome Zelda controllers come out in the past, like the Skyward Sword Wiimote, for example. That I would love to see something for a Pro Controller, but hear me out here.
Wind Waker gamepad?
Yeah, Wind Waker gamepad was really cool. But what I would want for this Pro Controller, I love the gold. Don't get me wrong. If they went for a gold Pro Controller, I'd be down. With like white buttons and white analog sticks. Love that. That would be beautiful.
I don't think it fits Breath of the Wild, though.
Exactly. Imagine a Pro Controller. The Pro Controller is already kind of see-through. Expand on that, but give it like a green, like that darkish green hue we see in the actual like little teaser trailer. Imagine like a see-through controller that has like that darkish green hue with like really dark like Zelda relics like mixed in there. Like, that would just look epic.
That would look pretty sweet, and I love that. I wish they would, as you say, go further into that see-through.
Yeah.
Style. I mean, everyone thinks back to like the old Game Boy Colors, the see-through purple Game Boy, or the Nintendo 64 controllers. Yeah, the Pro Controller is transparent. It's that black transparent. They need to do something with that. They need to bring it back. It looks great.
It'd be this is just me playing around here, but it would be kind of a cool idea. Like, it's so see-through. They do what I'm sort of talking about. But you look really carefully deep within, you see Calamity. You see Calamity Ganondorf.
Deep inside.
Yeah, deep inside the depths of Hyrule. So that would be really, really cool to see. Not saying it's going to look exactly like that, but I feel like it makes sense if there is going to be some sort of bundle to the Switch Pro itself won't be like Zelda oriented, but the controller could be.
Yeah. I'm thinking like even just for the anniversary, they could make a gold Switch, just even a normal standard base.
They could
or
have
something
more than one. Why not?
Or just the Joy-Cons, whatever.
Yeah. Zelda kind of seems a little easier.
But really, I think that's about it. All I have on my Zelda predictions.
Okay, hey, Brandon, you got anything?
I'll come in with the out of left field, crazy, not gonna happen, but it'd be awesome if it did. Prediction here, another one, and I'm gonna say a full remake of Twilight Princess, because Twilight Princess HD was not good enough. Let's be honest, it wasn't good enough. After seeing that Twilight Princess bridge level in the stage in Smash Ultimate, seeing how good that looks, I'm like, man, I just want Twilight Princess, but it looks like this stage. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'll take it a step further. Zelda 2 remake. Maybe that could be a spin-off. Maybe someone could tackle that for a spin-off. A weird side-scrolling.
It needs to be like a full reimagining, because that game does not work nowadays.
That would be interesting. Man.
It would have to be a full, like...
And Zelda 2 is like kind of has
talk
more...
about obtuse. That's one of the most obtuse games like ever.
Yeah.
But like Zelda 2 also has like some RPG elements. Like what if it was kind of like a 2D like side-scrolling action RPG kind of thing? Like that would be... Like it's still real-time. Like it's still like that side-scrolling action real-time gameplay, but they mix in more like RPG elements.
Or they could turn it into a straight-up like turn-based JRPG style explore. Instead of the side-scrolling combat, it's just like turn-based.
And this brings us back to the Monolith Soft game. Like
what
if they're doing like a JRPG Zelda spin-off? At that point, I wanted to be 3D. Like I'll be frank. Like the same way people want the Odyssey team to work on like a 3D Donkey Kong game, right? Like if Monolith Soft, who seems to be like the experts of making massive, giant, organic, crazy-looking 3D worlds, if they went ahead and made a 2D game, I'd be like, but you specialize in making the giant open worlds. Like they helped out with the Breath of the Wild world. The Xenoblade X world is crazy. Xenoblade 1's world is crazy. Xenoblade 2 even has some crazy things. Like you gotta do something big and open, I think.
Yeah, and I mean in Zelda 2, like yes, most of the game is that side-scrolling stuff, but they have those moments where you're wandering around the map. You can go up, down, left, or right. So it'd be kind of like a Dragon Quest.
Oh, yeah, because when the fights happen, they could still use that gameplay. I think there's an interesting idea at play here, guys. Oh man, that'd be crazy.
Speaking of interesting ideas, I saw this comment in the chat a while ago by the Long Defeat, and well, I don't think this would ever happen. Really, it is an interesting. I appreciate the imagination here. I would like them to make a 2D Zelda game into a 3D and a 3D Zelda game into a 2D. So like you would make like Ocarina of Time 2D, and they would like redesign the puzzles to kind of emulate that Ocarina of Time puzzle, but now it's in a second, just 2 dimension.
Could be cool.
I think that'd be fun, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how Nintendo would do it, but it would be really cool to see. I mean, it could be a fan project before Nintendo takes it down. You know, like
FBI, open up.
Yeah, that'd be like what 2D would you turn 3D? I mean, there's a few options: Link to the Past, Zelda 2,
Minish Cap.
I mean, those are kind of like easier to imagine, like them taking one of the, even though they probably still wouldn't do that, like it would be really cool if they did. And you can make the argument that Zelda 1 is basically what Breath of the Wild is. Like, it is in a way somewhat of a spiritual successor to Zelda 1, because Zelda 1 was like one of the first open world games. So Breath of the Wild kind of like follows its spirit a little bit. I mean, they even have the art that sort of mimics the original Zelda.
It's a really good point.
I think that would be really cool. You guys know how when they were trying to show off cool things about Breath of the Wild, they showed that this they made like a Zelda 1 version of the game where it was in the same art style, but you could do things that cut down trees and light things on fire. Release that.
That
let us play that.
Like, what if that was
make that
like
into the whole game?
You make that into a whole game, or that could be like the spin-off game that comes out this year. You know, like release that beta as a fully fledged like rework of Zelda 1.
Yes,
that'd be super cool. Yeah.
There's actually, it just popped in my head. I can't believe I didn't think of it earlier. Great example, Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition.
Oh yeah.
You can play the game full on in 3D, or you can switch it literally to top-down 2D, and you can play the entire game in 2D or the entire game in 3D.
Imagine they were to patch Breath of the Wild where you can swap modes and you switch to like that beta Zelda 1 version of it. That would be mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Nuts. But someone has done it recently, and it's on the Switch.
I mean, that's actually, I mean, going back who to the question you brought up earlier, like Dragon Quest XI kind of does it, right? Like it's about as close as you can get, and it's pretty insane.
Yeah,
and Nintendo funded that, just for the record. Like that's pretty. I don't know, man. I mean, I think at the very least, there's a chance we could see them revisit that Zelda 1 sort of prototype thing they were using for Breath of the Wild 2 Breath of the Wild 1 testing, I should say. I have another super chat here from Taker though. Thank you very much, Taker. 7-foot tall collectible Hestu figurines that talk.
You just wake up in the middle of the night, see Hestu, you're just kind of in the corner lurking in your room.
We need to at least get that in Super
so glad
Nintendo
I paid
World.
$1,500 for this. Stare at me creepily as I sleep.
Who needs a parrot when you have a Hestu? Oh wait, no, Hestu is a Korok. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Hestu would be great because he could dance with the maracas. Yeah. But you guys know what I'm thinking about, the parrot. I forgot his name.
I don't know.
The guy who like tells you all those poems and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yes.
Why am I forgetting? Because I haven't played in forever.
One of the best characters of the game.
That we don't remember the name to.
I don't remember anybody's names for anything.
I'm bad with names, so that is also.
Especially in fantasy worlds, yeah.
Cass.
So
yeah, I don't know why when I saw Hestu, Taker, that I was thinking of Cass, but I guess it's a Freudian slip. Really, what I want to see is a 7-foot figurine of Cass, and since he's a giant parrot, he could just repeat what you're saying. So that's what and also play his accordion. Like that would just be crazy. But Hestu would be great too because he could dance with his maracas. So I want both. Zelda 35th anniversary merchandise, 2 7-foot tall Breath of the Wild characters, the 2 best ones.
You got
Cass
a bundle
and
pack
Hestu.
for the low price of $5,000.
That seems to be the theme of this pod. Just give it all to me. I'll take both. I'll take all of it.
Take everything.
Bring it all.
Yeah, we want it all. We're insatiable Nintendo fans.
My imaginary budget definitely allows for this.
Yeah, I mean, we can afford those $1,500 statues. No, no. Although it would be nice to get a Hestu amiibo.
Yeah.
What if during the Zelda 35th anniversary they do announce Age of Calamity DLC and they also say, hey, here's a few like amiibos for a few more amiibos for Age of Calamity? Wouldn't that be neat? Because they did re-release the champions when Age of Calamity came out, I think, if I remember correctly. They had a re-release for those amiibos, so it would be nice to see maybe them create a few more Breath of the Wild amiibos. I mean, Hestu, like, there's no reason to think that Hestu won't be in Breath of the Wild too. So there is at least that opportunity to bring out more amiibo for Breath of the Wild characters.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be another thing I'd like to see, more like Zelda amiibo. The Guardian amiibo is like one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
It's right over there.
I have him.
See him right.
Yeah, I see yours in the background. Mine is put away behind me, but
Mine's in the case because I don't take amiibos out of the cases anymore.
oh, look at you, Mr. Collector. Yeah. So is there anything else you guys would like to see? I mean, like, Breath of the Wild 2 alone is just like gonna be amazing. I guess for my final wish that I'll say, and it's somewhat of an expectation too, I think Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna be a improvement over Breath of the Wild 1. Like, Breath of the Wild 1 was Nintendo's first modern foray into open world Zelda design. Modern. They've done it before, but in terms of the modern take. And they hit it out of the park. They caught right back up to the industry and passed everyone. What happens when they have an opportunity to sort of look at the errors they made and perfect it? Perhaps we get a better story. You know, perhaps we get more side quests. Perhaps we get towns, because they've actually rebuilt things now, and it's not just all desolate. You could have more of a denser Hyrule that has a lot more going on, and it's an even richer, more magical, denser world with a lot there. Considering that they're building upon Hyrule, like in interviews, Anuma has told us that we're going back to Hyrule here, and they're using Breath of the Wild as a foundation because they're building upon that engine. What that means is that even though they've had such a long development time, that gives them an opportunity to add a lot of extra content. So we could be looking at perhaps the most complete and dense Zelda game ever, and it may go down as one of the favorite Zelda games of all time for many people, potentially myself as well. So I'm just saying, Breath of the Wild 2 might be like the best game ever made. So that's a wish, actually. I'm hoping they do that, and I think there's a chance they might. So that's like super exciting. Like, even if we don't get anything else, just a promise that Breath of the Wild 2 is not that far off. It's not confirmed for this year, but you gotta think it's not too far off. And considering that Zelda's anniversary, I feel like they're gonna want to get it out for this year, because it's been technically in development since 2017. I think they're gonna get it done. Man, it's gonna be amazing, and I'm just really excited for that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Nintendo does now that they've had fan feedback for several years. I do hope they don't. I hope they don't make too many changes. I hope they stick to the same basic formula that Breath of the Wild was. Like, I know it's not the most popular thing in the world. I liked my destructible items. I liked
them too.
You know, I would like the dungeons to be themed a little bit differently. You know, just from
more themes.
Yeah, just more themes instead of just robot. You know, everything's just robot. But I hope that they don't hear all the fan feedback and say, oh yeah, sounds like we should just make an old Zelda game again, just like go back to the basics. It's like, no, you guys stepped out of your comfort zone and made like an entirely new experience with Breath of the Wild, and that's what made it so great and stand out so much. If you want to go back to traditional Zelda type of games later, that's fine, but I hope Breath of the Wild 2 still feels like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I feel you there. I'll say that, you know, you have the issue of the vocal minority, right? Because obviously Breath of the Wild, people love. It's the most successful Zelda game of all time. It's one of the highest reviewed games of all time. It's got more Game of the Year awards than maybe any other game ever, or it's like up there, right? Like, there's pretty much by every metric, Breath of the Wild is an incredible success and massive improvement over previous entries, right? Doesn't mean there aren't ways they can improve, and I think there are some elements they should bring back from traditional Zelda games. Like, I think giving us some more dungeons closer to what we saw in the past, but mixing that into the open air environment, like, and seeing how that can kind of like combine together. Like, imagine they create, like, you know, because we're going to be exploring like deeper into Hyrule, maybe we see some of those ancient temples that we didn't get to visit in Breath of the Wild, which I think is kind of strange, because the map of Breath of the Wild basically shows everything throughout the history of the Zelda series, but something that's kind of mysteriously missing are most of the temples that have been in the different Zelda games. Like, where are they? I think the thinking is that they're underground. We're exploring underground in Breath of the Wild too, so maybe we actually get to play them, or maybe they're unearthed due to the earthquake we see with Ganondorf, right? So maybe they could sort of like present us these dungeons that have been hidden for all this time, but this time we could approach them within that open air environment. For example, imagine the Forest Temple. With the Forest Temple, there was only one way to get in. You needed to get the hook shot. But imagine if you could go at it from a different angle now, or multiple different angles now, because in Breath of the Wild, it's an open air style, so you have more options. And they can still find ways to create limitations, like maybe you can't climb everything, so you still need hook shots and things of that nature. But you get my point. Like, there's a lot more gameplay opportunities to kind of bring back some of the older aspects of Zelda, but still combine it with the newer aspects of Zelda. You can get something that's really exciting.
I agree. Yeah.
I would like to see more enemy types and more boss types.
What do you mean?
There's not that many.
All
enemy
we need are
types in Breath of the
bokoblins.
Wild.
All we need is give us more colors.
10 different colors of each one. You're good. They all
Water
act the
Stalfos.
exact same, but those stat numbers, man.
Fire
So
Stalfos. I actually like what they did in Age of Calamity, how they kind of used some of the elements and combined them with some of the enemies. I think that's a good idea. They should give us more enemy types, but also you can create more variety with the elements as opposed to just color.
Well, I also want the way their attack patterns is to be different, because a lot of enemies, like every bokoblin, essentially attacks the same attack patterns. I'd like it if they had more variation to that, and more enemies with different attack patterns and different ways to more easily defeat them. Because I feel like as much as the gameplay got expanded, a lot of taking down enemies, well, while there's a lot you can do, a lot of the time I feel like the most convenient way is just to hit them with your most powerful weapon over and over and over again and just stun-lock them. Which isn't very fun. Like, there's definitely a lot of creative things you can do, but I feel like usually those aren't even very convenient ways of taking out enemies. So I'd like it if enemies kind of forced you to be more creative, to fight them, to find their weak spots.
I hear you there. I think kind of bringing back more enemy types, or even introducing some new ones, and then mixing up that gameplay a little bit. But also just kind of focusing on the battle engine a little bit more, like, and build upon what they like. You can use Breath of the Wild as that base, but you can really add a lot more combat options, and to your point, mix up the AI a little bit, make it more challenging, make the combat be a pro for Breath of the Wild, right? Like, don't just rely on just the physics of the game to make it interesting. Like, build on that as well, but kind of compile it, right? Like, create even more variations here, which will just kind of add to all the different crazy things you can do in the game.
Yeah.
Also, more Lynels. I want more Lynels. And more other open world bosses that we haven't seen. Like, give us the giant octopus. Or, like, I don't know, what if there are dragons that do try and eat us, right? Or maybe there are some Loftwings and we don't have to fight them, but maybe we have to sort of, like, battle to kind of catch them and tame them, you know? I said Loftwings, yeah. Loftwings.
Loftwings would be dope.
Yeah.
Well, you look at those enemy concept designs for Breath of the Wild, and you think, dude, just get like all of those and put them in Breath of the Wild too.
Like those like more demonic looking guardians, like that'd be crazy.
The weird insect looking ones too.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
That'd be crazy. Bring in aliens.
It's also terrifying.
Give us aliens. Like, there's already like this kind of weird, like, sort of Mayan alien sort of vibe we get from like the Sheikah, right? The ancient ones, like the monks. Like, what if they
kind of for aliens?
Yeah, what if you throw in some aliens in there, right? Like, there's alien encounters.
They have aliens in Majora's Mask.
Yeah, like, what if, like, it's actually part of the story, too, though? Like, what if, like, the Sheikah monks are actually an alien species, and you start to see, and they're actually sort of, like, they've been spying on Hyrule, right? But with Ganondorf, it sort of, like, compels them to take more of an active role, and you have to deal with them throughout the game, too. Like, it's another, like, threat.
I feel like the Zonai are better candidates for being aliens.
Maybe you're right. That makes sense. Maybe that's why they disappeared, right? Or another thing I'll throw at you, because we know that there's like this hidden message in the trailer of them saying "help us." There's like spirits like contained somehow under Hyrule related to Ganondorf. Like, what if like the Zonai were all trapped, or some of the survivors? And I don't know if they're alien or just an ancient tribe. Probably an ancient tribe, but that would be cool to see.
It's hard to say. Trapped souls killed by Ganondorf a long time ago. I don't know. There's so much
Twilight.
Well,
dude, it'd be cool if there was a way to like visit the Twilight Realm.
Well, you bring up something that I've actually mentioned to Andres before. In the trailer, since we're just blabbing about Breath of the Wild 2. Yeah. In the trailer, when you see the castle lift up into the air.
Yeah,
I've had this theory that the castle will actually kind of blip out of existence and transport Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf to like another dimension, whether it's a dark version of Hyrule or, you know, something along the lines of like the Twilight Realm or whatever, just some other world to explore. And so based off that comment that the developer said that, oh, Hyrule's all fleshed out now, you're still going to be in Hyrule, that would still be true. Now we're just in like a dark version of Hyrule where the enemies are different and
like Link to the Past,
or the Twilight Realm, or just this Twilight Realm. Like,
well, the Twilight Realm is a little bit different because it's like a completely separate place.
Yeah,
whereas like the Dark World would be Hyrule itself.
Well, I would prefer Twilight Realm because it's different, right? Like, I like not just like different colors with different enemies, right? But like literally different. but still
Yeah.
like a contrast or like a mirror to it. Like there's still like a connection there, and there's similarities perhaps, because it could still be like the other side or perhaps the third side, or I don't know. But like it would be really interesting to see them go back to Twilight Realm or something like it, because like even in Twilight Princess you don't really get to explore it, right? You basically just explore the dungeon, which is kind of like a city castle sort of, and you see like some Twilight people who are like very miserable and don't do much. But imagine like actually getting to explore the entire world they live in. Like you don't really, you're just in this structure pretty much. So
Yeah, I
cool.
can see their culture and how they live and stuff. Yeah.
Right, that'd be super cool. It could also be a way how they could give us more towns and stuff, right? Because while it could maybe, let's say Breath of the Wild 2 takes place 2 years afterwards, maybe that's enough time so they could start rebuilding some towns and things like that, so we could see some of that. But it's still gonna be, we're still gonna be in this world where everything was destroyed. Like, how much can they really build up reasonably to where Link and Zelda are still pretty much the same age, like give or take a couple of years? Like, maybe one way to do it is by going to other areas that weren't explored in Breath of the Wild that would have towns and cities.
Yeah,
I'm about it. Flesh it out.
Yeah,
Flesh it out.
it would be super exciting. There's so much potential in Breath of the Wild too. Hopefully we see more of it soon. Hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. I think there's a lot of potential things Nintendo could do for anniversaries this year, as we sort of talked about throughout this discussion. I think it's gonna be a good year, guys, as we've talked about. It's gonna be fun, but we'll see what happens. Guys, any final thoughts for the evening, the podcast?
Think I'm good.
Cool.
just excited to see what Nintendo's got planned.
For sure. And guys, you know, if you haven't seen Dylan before, make sure to check out his social media. I linked his Twitch in the description below. Give him a follow. Great guy, great streamer, for sure. Obviously, we got Brandon with his rebrand. He's working on it. His channel is also linked in the description below. If you leave a like, I will be less likely to cry myself to sleep tonight. So, you know, I'd appreciate that. But yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Cool.